All right, hello, welcome to another edition of the O&G StrikeZone. It's Brian Fulford and Marcus Green right now until we get the third member of the band back together. That's Mr. Kelvin Rozier, and I'm sure he'll be joining us pretty soon. I'm sure, probably maybe having a few technical difficulties, or Marcus, he could be roasting and basting the
Yeah.
turkey and doing some some honeydew lists, some stuff to get ready for tomorrow.
Thanksgiving prep. Most certain. In fact, I got a little bit done just before the show.
Yeah, oh, good for you. Good for you. What's on the menu for tomorrow, my good friend?
Well, we thought we were going to do non traditional and just have like fried chicken, some salmon,
What?
some other traditional sides. But the last minute, we got a turkey breast. So we're going to do some turkey. I was made some cranberry sauce.
Wait a minute, you're making cranberry? So you're doing the homemade? You're making cranberry sauce?
Yeah. Actually, like a few years ago, actually, when I first got married, came across this recipe from Food Network on a citrus cranberry sauce. So I make it. My wife likes it. So, whenever we have Thanksgiving or turkey, she asks me to make it and I do what I'm told.
Ah! Oh, my man,
But
Marcus.
it only takes like 10, 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's not, and you just let it chill. And then it's better. Well, I like it too. It is better than the canned stuff. She won't even look at the canned stuff anymore.
That the can. I hear people talk about the canned. I'll be honest. I have never consumed. I don't recall. If I did, I was very, very young that I don't remember it. I because I've always seen it come out the can and I has never sit well with me the visual of whatever that is coming out of the can. I just have never it's never and then people slice it. And my mom, God rest her soul, she loved the cranberry stuff out the can. I don't know. I don't know, man. What do you guys so God bless you. I want to hear from you guys in the chat room. Are you doing is the cranberry is salt the cranberry is the cranberry sauce out the can or is it homemade? That's what I want to hear. That's the first poll question in the chat room. Out the can or fresh made, as like Marcus does it, freshly made cranberry sauce. But other than that, you got a
Yeah.
favorite? You got a favorite side? Any side dishes that you're looking forward to?
I like them all.
Oh,
Macaroni and
wow,
cheese, first and
I hear you.
foremost.
I hear you. Uh-huh.
Stuffing, but I'm trying to balance out the starches. So I might have like a little scoop of everything, but there's certain combinations like you have to have the sweet potatoes with either the stuffing or the mac and cheese that's like nestled next to each other. I saw a meme last week when somebody, I don't know if I would do it. They had macaroni and cheese and sweet potatoes. Somebody said they're supposed to kiss, not not have sex. I was like, I agree with you, brother, because it's supposed to be like next to each other, not on top of each other.
Right.
So you bet macaroni cheese, sweet potatoes, or yams, however you want to candy yams, however you call it. And I guess macaroni is a starch, but I might scoop some stuffing and whatever meat. Usually I like a little bit of turkey, but it's got to be dark meat because I like the dark meat. I like it juicy. Ham.
Get you.
And, I'm trying to balance everything out. And I guess I got to throw a vegetable in there, collard greens, maybe a salad or something. But I'll try to eat the salad first so I feel much better about how much other stuff I put on my plate.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be looking for some. I'm a stuffing. I love the stuffing, especially the stuffing that came out of the turkey. But I'll deal with some good old stovetop out the box. I don't care. The stuffing, just with some gravy. It can be the homemade. It can be the canned gravy. I'm a stuffing and gravy person, and mix that up with some turkey or some mashed potatoes, and I'm good. So that's uh that's my side that I just love to have, and I see you guys in the chat room already dropping your 2 cents in. I appreciate it. Looking at there, the Dr. Cavill's already in there jumping in. Where
I see you got the debate going on now.
oh, that's a definite
Stuffing versus dressing. What do you
versus
call it?
stuffing versus dressing. Mary 305, good to see you in here with the mac and cheese homemade. Love it, love it.
Yeah, I eat chitlins too, but of course, it's been a few years, and you gotta.
Yeah, see,
How can I put it?
I forgot you from
You
Georgia.
you have to
Georgia,
you
aren't
have to understand who's making it.
you? Wait, you say you can't eat everybody's chitlins? Is that the rule? I thought that was just
Yeah.
I thought that was just macaroni and cheese. You can't eat everybody's mac and cheese, but it's
Well,
not.
yeah, that too. But the
Uh,
chitlins could be life or death if they don't clean them right.
oh God. See, I don't want to deal with anybody's food that comes down to a life and death situation based on somebody cleaning. That's all right. Let's get going here. Excuse me. I'm dealing with a little I don't know, the whole allergy season thing is all, it's that kind of year. So if I'm gonna try to make sure I properly hit the mute button as often as I can for today's show. But we got a good show planned for you. Want to remind everybody who's checking in early, make sure to hit that thumbs up and the like button. Go ahead and get that out of the way now, if you would, please. We appreciate you. You know you're gonna like today's show, so just go ahead and get it out the way early. Hit that thumbs up, hit the like button. Make sure you're following us at O&G StrikeZone, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go ahead and take a minute and share the show. We got a lot to talk about, Rattler Nation. Got to talk about the good weekend over those kitty cats from Daytona. Got to talk about that. We'll get into talking about some
And,
volleyball and some basketball and what else?
and we do have well, for basketball, uh, I reached out and we could have Liv come on in 9:30 Eastern, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, good. Okay. So let me get to so I can set up what we got going on. Today, obviously we're kind of in a it's not well, yeah, it is a bye week. It's a bye week for us. So we're gonna kind of go a little off script in terms of the relatable, you know, news and intel for the SWAC championship game. We want to give everybody a chance to breathe. But next week we got a loaded show for that. This
Hmm.
show, especially coming up at the bottom of the hour and hopefully a little bit into the top of the second hour, we've noticed an uptick in the social media smack talk over the last couple years in social media, right? And, Marcus and I, and even Kelvin, we're not new to this because almost about 20 something years ago, 25 years ago, probably, we used to do this kind of smack talking on message boards. You're like, what? What's a message board? Well, now, if you just ask what is a message board, that tells me already how old you are. And you don't know what a message board is, then okay, just this is going to be an educational episode for you. But if you remember message boards and you were an active community person of message boards, then you were going to get a kick out of this show because we've got probably three of the biggest message boards in the HBCU diaspora around the turn of the century, really, were MEAC fans, um, the fifth quarter, and SWAC page. And all three had their, unique groups. I mean, of course, the MEAC, it says what it is, the MEAC fans, the MEAC conference. So you had, of course, us, FAMU, South Carolina State, A&T, Howard, that whole, I mean, just think back then there was like 8 or 9 teams in the MEAC in the early 2000s, right?
Hmm.
Almost 10. The SWAC, of course, was 10 deep, and they had their own culture and the talking that went on there. And then there was the fifth quarter, which was primarily, the band community and the band talk that was heavy. And we've got some of the creators, co-creators of those three entities joining us a little bit later. Floyd Hill, a Rattler who headed up the MEAC fans page. Dr. Christy Walker, who was one of the co-founders of the fifth quarter, and then Kenn Rashad, who you may know Kenn currently of HBCU Sports, but Kenn was one of the co-creators. He might have been just the creator of the SWAC page, which turned into he eventually transitioned everything into HBCUsports.com. So we're going to talk a little bit about just the origins and just some of what it was like being the hub of the HBCU culture. And again, this was definitely before Facebook, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. So it was, we're talking late 90s, early 2000s. So that's and then of course, like I said, towards the end of the show, we're going to talk with Olivia Antilla to kind of talk with us really about the home opener for the men and women. But before we get into that, let's do a little Rattler roundup, Marcus, as we can.
Mhm.
Let's kind of get into obviously the Florida Classic. Florida A&M FAMU gets win number 52 against Bethune-Cookman. Don't let any Wildcat tell you this is a rivalry. Just because they won 9 games in a 10-year time period and 14 since the turn of the century, they've only won 24 games in this series. Let's keep this real. So this is not a rivalry. This is just a game between two in-state schools, big brother, little brother, whatever you want to call it, big sister, little sister, however you want to describe it. That's what this is. And now big brother has gotten the belt back and is continually, lashing out. That's really what it is. Big brother has got the belt back, and he is continually, and literally, if you were at the Florida luncheon, the Florida Classic luncheon, literally swinging it at little brother. 24-7 was the final score. Marcus, we may have wanted a larger margin, but FAMU did cover expectations. That's always an important thing I always talk about. But this was a surgery. This was a clinical dissecting of a team and a program. So I'm about to bring in Kelvin, but I'm going to give you the first shot at talking about this game and what you saw.
Well, I was impressed. I missed the first few minutes. I had an obligation, but I was impressed with the defensive intensity, especially given that it looked like Anthony Dunn was held out, coach's decision, and just the way the defense held. And at times, well, when we went up 14-love, it was the offense was humming, and it just looked like we were very businesslike. And I don't know if we were necessarily trying to pour it on, but just make sure that we took care of them, didn't do anything, super crazy, but also just handling the business. And the one drive where BCU did score was aided and abetted.
Computer.
Kevin, we can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna mute him for a second. I think he's trying to.
Yeah, and just the one drive that they scored was aided and abetted by some play that we probably wanted to get rid of. In terms of how many penalties, they basically extended their drives, and so that was through a combination of our own errors, our own mental mistakes, and some of their offensive execution. And then when they got within, I guess, the 5-yard line, was about 8 to 10 plays. I didn't go back and look, between penalties and everything else that allowed them to have enough drives or enough downs to be able to eventually score. And I think they scored on a third down QB run, basically QB.
Yeah, there was one drive that essentially, because of a couple pass interferences in the end zone, that led to a touchdown. But even a couple of those are really questionable in mine and I think Kelvin's opinion as we were watching that unfold. but that was really it. That was it. I mean, I don't think they, we held them under 250 total yards, which was one of Kelvin's bold predictions. They had 234. We had two interceptions and a fumble recovery. So we had three. We recovered 3 turnovers from them. It was, they punted 6 times. I just, this was, it was a slow death that we issued out. I mean, that was it. That was it. Kelvin, good to have you back on. How you doing, my brother?
Man, I guess I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good, man. Looking forward to the holidays.
Okay. We were wondering whether you were on prep duty for tomorrow, and that's why you were a little behind the 8 ball in terms of getting on this evening. But everything's good though. Everything's good for tomorrow.
No, man, it was. Man, it was technical stuff, man. But yeah, we ready for tomorrow. Family is. I'm not hosting, but the family is putting things together. I got a Cajun fried turkey in the morning, but outside of so it's already marinated and all that good stuff. But looking forward to it, man.
Okay, man. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the show. I'm interested to hear about this Cajun fried turkey. You said that, and my first thought was you were going over to Popeyes or something. I thought you were ordering it from Popeyes or something.
No, sir, man. I got a little skills now. Don't get it twisted.
Okay. Okay. Big takeaway, Marcus. What was your bold prediction from this Florida Classic?
I don't remember, but I think it was something because special teams. It was a special teams touchdown or something like that.
All right. So I think only Kelvin hit his bold prediction. Although, yeah, I did. Right now, do I get any points? Do I get any points for predicting the MVP of the Florida Classic? Because there was a lot of haters in the press box that were. I ain't gonna call no names, but there were a few who didn't think Terrell Jennings was gonna get the MVP, and it ended up being my guy, Terrell Jennings, especially after he busted out his second touchdown on that 35-yard run. He had 8 carries, 62 net yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the leading rusher. Do I get any credit, any points for that?
No.
I'll give you half a point.
That was after the game, number one, and it could have been a lot of people. The discussion was between Isaiah Major on defense and Jennings on offense, pretty much. Those were the 2 choices, so it wasn't like it was no haters or anything. Our defense dominated, and Isaiah Major had the numbers. So,
but it still qualifies as a bold.
Either way, it could have been fine.
It should have qualified as a bold in-game prediction.
No.
All right. See how you
bold in-game. No.
You can't change the rules now, man. You gave your bold prediction, all right? Just like I gave mine. Mine just happened to be, as an analyst, I'm just astute like that.
If we want to talk about an analyst, how about the analyst who in-game, again, I'm going to go back to in-game, watching the game, seeing that the MVP was Terrell Jennings. But anyway, Jeremy Musa was 14 of 21, 150 yards. Yeah, well off of my bold prediction. Dimitri, I don't be making up stuff. I was dead up. I called it in the game. I'm not making up anything.
I agree with Dimitri.
I was dead up, on point with my bold prediction, in-game bold prediction. Our guy Leland Wilhoit had 8 carries, 48 net yards. Kelvin Dean 4 for 31. Jaquez Yant got the other rushing touchdown. There were 3 rushing touchdowns, in fact. Yant 4 carries, 13 net yards. Musa had a run of 10 yards. Marcus Riley had a run of 9 yards. Quan Lee had a run of 4. Receiving, only 14 receptions, of course. Jamari Shareed led it with 5 for 38 yards. You mentioned Isaiah Major on the defensive side, 10 tackles, 6 solo, 4 assists, and 1 tackle for loss. A fumble recovery, a breakup, and a quarterback hurry. And I think that was part of the reason why you wanted to give him that recognition. But also shout out to Eric Smith, who got the 2 interceptions in that contest, right?
Yes, he was in the discussion.
The attendance hit over 56,000, which was the largest crowd since 2011. I think they announced. What does that say? What were you guys surprised at the attendance, given some of the things we talked about, given what's ahead for FAMU next week and the following week? Did that number surprise you at all? And how much of that was FAMU versus Bethune-Cookman, if you had to put a percentage on it?
Oh, it was 75% FAMU. You know, even on the Bethune side, it was more FAMU people than Bethune folks. And of course, on the FAMU side, they had opened up the 3rd level. So we definitely represented. It did surprise me a little bit because, you know, the chatter probably leading up to the game the whole week was that some folks were considering, you know, we got Atlanta, we got the SWAC championship game in Tallahassee. So folks will kind of pull back and choose those 2 games over the Florida Classic. But that didn't happen. Rally Nation, we do what we do, and we showed up and showed out. So very proud of that attendance. I think the Florida Citrus Authority and so forth did a better job of reaching out to put the word out in Orlando in the local community, number one. But I saw advertisements and heard things over social media, over radio, as far back as August. So I think that was important. And then, you know, Vaughn did share some information as to some of the outreach they did and some of the outreach they will be doing in the future with more minority media. So I think all that contributed, along with FAMU folks feeling really good right now.
Marcus, you want to add anything?
No, I was pleasantly surprised with the turnout. It's been steadily going up since we hit some lulls, and I think it's the first time we've hit 50,000 in a while. I don't know the exact, but it was good to see, and I wasn't sure just looking at the game from the TV what the total tally was going to be, because I did see some upper deck spots, but I didn't know what the overall capacity of the stadium was, so I couldn't get a gauge for that. But glad to see 50,000 plus, and hopefully the excitement that the team has generated and the program that Coach Simmons has built means that we got enough people that gave us a bountiful attendance last week. We'll get bountiful attendance this week, and if everything falls the way that we hope that it does, we'll get great attendance on December 16th.
Yeah, definitely. The team is now 10-1 for the first time since 1999, but the job is not done. The job is not done. So that's what we all got to take into account. So I mean, we had our fun talking smack with Bethune-Cookman.
HBCU band talk. What's up, HBCU band talk? It was nice meeting him in the press box.
Yeah. We'll get into talking a little bit about some of the missteps, literally, from the Marching Wildcats, but just in general, some of the surrounding things that went on with the Classic, because there were some interesting things that happened before, including the luncheon, and then there were some other things as well that we'll get into. But we're going to take a short break, transition into our lead segment, and again, those of you who are just kind of jumping in, if you were part of, and a regular contributor on whether it be MEAC fans, the fifth quarter, or SWAC page, this is the episode you've been waiting for, because we're gonna kind of bring back some of those good memories and just kind of find out. I mean, look, before and other folks jumped on Twitter and found Twitter, they were running smack like that on message boards. So,
Yes.
if you don't know what a message board is, then obviously you're telling your age, and get ready for a history lesson, because this was happening way before this Twitter and Facebook, and I don't even know if people run smack on Instagram. I guess you run it via videos
Yeah.
on TikTok and other stuff. I guess I don't even know, but this should be fun. So hang in there. Coming up on the other side, we're going to talk with Floyd Hill, Dr. Christy Walker, and Kenn Rashad, and kind of find out the origins of those former pages, just kind of what happened to those pages, what the transition was like, and just kind of see where we're at. Definitely those pages were formative, and they really connected us at a time when we didn't have the instant access to a phone and an app, and so these forums were major league connectivity places for many people. So we'll talk about that and more coming up on the other side. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone, and it's a pleasure to be joined right now by some of the originators of a community that brought us all together before Elon Musk bought X, and before the little guy in Harvard created a Facebook. There was message boards, and message boards is how we connected to one another. And so introducing our panel on the screen, from left to right is Floyd Hill, aka Rattler Till Death, co-create. Now, Floyd, were you a creator or co-creator of MEAC fans?
Creator.
Creator of MEAC fans. We also have in the center square, Dr. Christy Walker, co-creator of the fifth quarter. Dr. Walker, how you doing this evening?
I'm great. It's good to see some familiar faces.
Nice. Yes, indeed. And then, of course, square to the right underneath Kelvin there is Kenn Rashad, who currently is the editor and publisher of HBCUsports.com. But before that, Kenn was the creator or co-creator, Kenn, of SWAC page.
The creator.
Look at that.
No code.
Look at that. So first off, it's a pleasure. Thank you all for coming on.
We've been waiting on this show. We're really excited about this one.
And Brian, if I could, I want to jump in and kind of give a little, first of all, give props, because I met Kelvin and Floyd through the MEAC fans, and it goes way back. And that just as a timeline, my daughter's a senior in college now, and they put money together to get her a FAMU little onesie when she was born.
Oh, wow. See, this is the kind of stuff I love.
And on top of that, the week before she was born, my wife, we were driving on Philly looking for ribs, and her favorite rib shack, they were closed for the summer, or they were like closed that week. And she was like going off. She was like a week from being due. And I said something on the board, like, y'all got to help me. Y'all got to, and I was just, trying to reach out the lifeline. And Sam Dixie, he made some ribs and freeze dried them and sent them up here. And she's still talking about those ribs. So that's the kind of relationships you build, or we built, from the message boards back then.
Yeah.
So look, let's kind of get into it and just kind of go, and let's kind of talk about, if we can, just the beginning, or what was the catalyst of starting your platform. And I don't know, did we really call them we didn't really call them social media. They were just message boards, or maybe you had a different name. So we'll go with ladies first. We'll give Dr. Walker, Christy, we'll give you the first, and then we'll just kind of go from there between Kenn and Floyd.
Well, I think, first of all, I want to say it's good seeing y'all again. I haven't seen Floyd in like decades, and Kenn, always good talking to you and all that good stuff. Well, anyway, the catalyst of the fifth quarter, it really started in 1998. Believe it or not, when Prairie View A&M and Southern University, their bands got in a fight. And I don't know if y'all remember that, but it was in 98. And you know how they do with our HBCUs. Like every time, it's a fight or something like that, it gets blown up and put on national TV and the whole 9 yards. And a guy named Rick Riley, I don't know if y'all remember him, but he would have a column in the back of the Sports Illustrated every week. And he wrote a column, it was called "And the Band Fought On." And he was talking about that fight, and he was making fun of it. He was like, oh, he had just all this colorful language to say that, how could these bands fight? Because bands aren't real, they're just here to play for the football team. He had obviously no idea of what significance HBCU bands meant to the culture. And so I read that article. It ticked me off. I'm not gonna lie. It pissed me off. And that made me want to try to find a community online where people understood where I was coming from, because I had always grown up in the environment of HBCU bands. And I knew that, that fight is serious. Like the rivalries between bands can get serious. And so I had dabbled on a couple of websites before, starting to build web pages, because, that was the new thing. And so I created a message board called The Ranks, where people from different HBCU bands could get together and talk smack, and, we could form our own sense of community. And to make a long story short, in 1999, myself along with my partner Michael Lee, who marched for he's an Alabama A&M grad, and he was drum major there, in addition to being in the band and all that. So we ended up meeting, and we established a friendship, and we created the Fifth Quarter. So that was like the catalyst and the origin. I'm skipping a lot of details, but that's basically how it went down. I was ticked off about what Rick Riley said in that fight, and said about the fight, and so yeah, that's what started all.
Ken, how about I don't know which came first. I don't know whether SWAC page or MEAC fans came first, but Ken, tell us a little bit about the origins of SWAC page.
Okay, so let me just piggyback on that story that Christy just shared, and let me just kind of add a little bit more context to it with respect to that article written by Rick Riley. That article actually referenced our website because I was actually initially blamed for it. At the time that incident took place between Southern and Prairie View, the SWAC page had just conducted a poll in which it was all a marketing ploy as far as I was concerned, in which it was all about just simply trying to bring awareness and make people aware of the SWAC page. And so I concocted this brilliant idea to take all of the bands in the SWAC and just say, look, give us your input. Whoever the band you think is, when I forgot what the metrics were, but literally we're going to name that band the SWAC page Band of the Year. And as luck would have it, the poll ended on, I believe, on a Wednesday. Southern and Prairie View literally finished 1 and 2. And just so happens that poll ended on a Wednesday in which they were supposed to perform that Saturday. That game took place down at Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. And so Prairie View finished 1, Southern finished 2. And I was told that there was all kinds of shenanigans going on prior to that. I was told that Prairie View was so engaged that they even had the student journalists at KPVU, the radio station, encouraging individuals to go online and vote for the bands. So all of this happens. That unfortunate incident took place, and it was, for those of you who may not be aware, that was national news. That was on CNN. It was everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so, there were unfortunate cases where some folks were hospitalized and so forth. And so all of a sudden now I'm receiving email. This is your fault. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I'm like, are you really going to sit up here and blame a fight on an internet band poll? I'm like, man, screw that. So it traction builds. And then all of a sudden, Rick Riley writes that article, and he references, if you go back and read that, and it's archived, he references a band poll. And I remember myself being upset. I'm like, damn it, he should have named the name of the site that provided the band poll. But anyway, so just to provide some context, it's amazing how all of this kind of pans out, because Christy talks about what the impetus was for her, and yet I'm the person that was eventually blamed. And I don't want to get too far, but eventually that incident actually led to Tom Joyner ultimately getting kicked off in Baton Rouge because of it's another story, but just adding some additional context to what Christy said, and that we were established in 97. And so we were, kind of established and was in the process of just trying to gain awareness. So it's amazing how what we did actually led to, in an indirect way, of how the Fifth Quarter came about.
Wow. Floyd, take us back to some of the origins of MEAC fans.
Okay, so MEAC fans started in the summer of '99. So, and truly, the basis of starting MEAC fans was because we were all on Kenn's site. We were all on Kenn's site, and we really were out of place, right? We didn't. They would always tell us, "What are we doing? What are you doing here? Get your own spot." They would talk about us bad.
For the record, I didn't say that. I enjoyed you being there, but anyway.
It's not you. It
I know.
was the people on the site.
But that is true. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Floyd.
You were overrun by MEAC people. I mean, I'm sorry, y'all. No offense to FAMU, but y'all still MEAC to me. It's like MEAC people. And one from the SWAC. Okay, go ahead, Floyd.
Right. So truly, we were on Kenn's site. So definitely, SWAC page came first, and that summer I was doing an internship out in Colorado, and I said, I can make our own site. We can make our own home, and then and say, in my opinion, Kenn is a journalist, right? So they come from that perspective. Me, I have a programming background, so my thing was I can make a site that's better than any other site that's out there. So I can bring innovation, I can bring other things that they can't do to it, and make the MEAC fans even better than anything else is out there. Because it's always been that rivalry between the MEAC and the SWAC, and I mean, a fun rivalry, but I just wanted to make something better than what already existed out there.
That's so funny because, so Floyd, you were saying that Kenn is the journalist and you're the programmer. And I think where I was coming from, where it was like, I'm on the inside, like I know the day to day. And that's the perspective I came from. I wanted to build that sense of community. So I think I'm glad we're all here talking about it, because I never knew this. I never knew y'all's story or how you all came to bring those pages to life.
And I would be remiss, and I do want to say this, that this part of the motivation for me also started with Eric Moore, the late great Eric Moore at Uniden.com. Okay. Yes. And I had a direct relationship with him, in which when I was in the planning process of actually beginning the SWAC page, and I've told this story before, Eric, who didn't even know me, was more than willing to help me in any way I could with building it, in which his words were, and it remains true to this very day, that there is enough pie in the sky for everyone. And so I just want to make it known that the person who started all of this is Eric Moore.
I'm glad you brought that. I was gonna go to that. Of course, Mr. Moore, very early in Roy and our journey with the Black College Sports Network, that he was very helpful and supportive with us when we were podcasting and trying to do shows before we even knew what podcasting was. It was getting information from Uniden.com and then other places. So I'm glad you brought that up. Early challenges. What were some of those early challenges that you dealt with, and how did you kind of find some success through them? I'll start with you, Kenn. We'll go that way. We'll start with you.
Oh man, for me, the early challenges, the growing pains for me was keeping that server up. As the site grew and as more people became members and began to engage, trying to keep that bad boy up was not only time consuming, because again, this is the internet in its infancy. It not only was it time consuming, but it was costly, and there wasn't really a former monetization mechanism in place. And I remember I remember literally, and I'm not going to say I made this up, but I was like, look, if you guys want to keep this bad boy going, because keep in mind, at the time I was still working an 8 to 5, but this wasn't anything full time. I said, y'all going to start making donations. Y'all going to start pitching in. And I'll never forget, Floyd and the cats at MEAC Fans clown me. You may not remember, Floyd, you guys had a jar with a bunch of pennies on it. I'll never forget that, man. I was like, they really clowning me about this, man. But you know what? I'm like, y'all see that jar here, though, because I'll take it. So, but no, that was probably the biggest challenge, man. Constantly servers, and then, talking to IT administrators. Well, you know what? We recommend you make an upgrade. I'm just like, what? How much is that going to cost? And that was probably the greatest challenge that I had early on, keeping that damn server up, because man, it was a challenge.
Floyd, you and Christy are both shaking your head. How about you, Floyd? Something similar or anything different than that being sort of the biggest challenge?
Yeah, that was pretty much the biggest challenge also for me, because just like Ken mentioned earlier, Mr. Moore, he basically gave me the guidance on what I needed to do in order to get everything started. So you would see like I use the same exact software that everybody else used, or at least that Ken and Mr. Moore used. I probably had the same web hosting company that Mr. Moore had, because he put me onto them, and so a lot of that stuff was not too difficult. But then, like I said, the financial aspect, and then also, since I wanted to make something different from everybody else, it was a matter of a lot of work, because I had to put all these extra features and add all this other extra stuff, and I was the only one doing it. So that was the main growing pain that I had, just having the time to put into it.
Let me give you a story on that, and I don't know if Floyd recalls this or not. So at this time, after MEAC fans had been established, so that's when things actually kind of ratcheted up, because now we were literally going to each other's pages and we were just kind of engaged and so forth. So I don't know if you guys remember back in the day before the Celebration Bowl, there was the Heritage Bowl, in which they had the MEAC and SWAC. So I'll never forget this. Floyd and I had a challenge, and I literally came up with this idea. I said, Floyd, if the MEAC team wins, then I will change the branding of my website to MEAC fans for like a week.
I remember that.
And vice versa. We agreed upon that. Now, let me tell you something. If we would have won, that would have been great. But had we lost, I'm gonna tell you now, because my thought process was, again, this was all about the traffic. This is my thought process at the time. This is all about awareness. If I lose and I put MEAC fans out there, that's gonna be a spectacle. They're gonna all come over to my website. And we did lose. But guess what? The server went down. So Floyd was like, y'all suck. Y'all suck. Y'all didn't want to hold it. I swear to you, that was not the server crashed. And I couldn't maintain it. And so they was like, oh man, they suck. They didn't want to make believe me, I wanted to hold that deal. I had no problem honoring that bet, because I'll admit it was self-serving. But we made that bet, and they was like, man, whatever. I ain't making no bet with y'all anymore. That was golden.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Related to that story, and Floyd, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the my most memorable moment, a favorite moment between all the battles of the 2 pages, because I believe that was the catalyst for the death of the SWAC page thread, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yes, it was.
Oh, wow.
Hold on now. Which game in the Heritage Bowl was that? Was that? I mean, was this the first Heritage Bowl game, or was it
99 when it was Hampton versus Southern? Was it that one?
Okay, maybe so. Okay. Yeah, I don't even know who the teams were.
Yeah, because I remember I went to that one. I went to that one.
Wow. And Christy, what about the 5th quarter? What kind of challenges did you all have? Anything outside of the server issues?
Oh yeah. I mean, I will say that my partner Mike Lee with the website, he comes from a web design background, so a lot of times he would take care of the back end, and I would just I guess be the face of the 5th quarter, day to day conversing with people and like bringing that sense of community. But I would say one of the things that I remember is, you got to think back. This is pre-YouTube. This is pre-smartphones. Like, you had the block phone, that I had a block phone that my parents were like, oh, you use this for emergencies only, like, free minutes after 9 p.m. on weekends or whatever, right? So you predate all of that. And we actually didn't even have video clips on our site. We had audio clips because we didn't have video capabilities. And the thing was that I had to the problem was I couldn't of course, I'm one person. I can't be everywhere. And so, like, I would, people would want to know about different games and different battles, and they couldn't hear them or see them because they didn't have that ability. So, like, I would actually go to a friend's house who had Wi-Fi. No, he didn't have Wi-Fi. He had high speed. He had high speed, and I would upload. I would go to the game, record it on my camcorder. No phone, no smartphone. Camcorder. And then I would go to what it was called, Real Player. I'd have to like convert it to a Real Player file, upload it, edit it, do all that things just to get one audio clip of band X playing band Y. And so, it's just I could obviously not. I obviously couldn't be at multiple places at once. So I think that was a thing, that an obstacle that we had to go through. Luckily, there became smartphones, and then the camera abilities, and then YouTube, and then it went on from there. But like that was the initial thing.
And when you say high speed, you're really talking. What was that? Was that ISDN? Is that what that was?
Yes, absolutely. Like, because I'm telling you,
man, you are showing your age. Well, I'm telling you.
I remember it all. I remember it all.
Too. Hey, your site's older than mine, Ken. So let's not even go there. But yeah, I mean, that's what we had to. That's what I had to do. I mean, yeah. So.
Folks,
good times.
You had to go to the library. See, I remember the library at whatever. Well, obviously, I don't know about FAMU. I know we would go over to Florida State, and they had the high speed stuff over at Florida State. Now, I don't know. Sometimes FAMU did. I don't know about but I'm thinking back. I know when we got ISDN, it was like, ooh, this page is loading up 20 seconds faster. Ooh.
Right. Oh, it makes a difference, especially when you have to upload audio files. Well, anyway, go ahead.
I'm curious. Obviously, with and what's interesting is at the same time that our message boards and your message boards were out, it wasn't new to college athletics. Like, other fan bases and other fan sites were running message boards, and I mean, that stuff was vicious out in those spaces. So something just came to mind when you were talking about those server challenges. What was it like when you were was there any kind of comparison when you're looking at, that fan base, like Ken, were you looking at stuff maybe that LSU or stuff from the SEC fan bases were doing, or kind of I'm just kind of let people know kind of where that inspiration started from or maybe came from.
So the inspiration initially for the board, and I like Christy, the SWAC page initially started off as a project. I was simply, I was a journalism major in college, but yet at the time, everybody that I was hanging with either worked at IBM or had some sort of IT jobs. And so every time we get together, they were talking shop. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? So I went out, and at the time there was a store called Comp USA. And I went and bought.
Now you're telling your age. Now.
Right, exactly. So I went out and bought a book in which you teach yourself HTML in 14 days or less by Laura LeMay. I still have the book. And that eventually led to, where we are right now. But with respect to your question and the message board, I was already kind of going back and forth with a number of SWAC folks. At the time, CNN had a message board where there were various group chats. And then this one just happened to be HBCU related. And I don't know if you guys, I don't want to put his name, but you guys might know him on the board as Get Ready, Robert, and a few others. That's where I met those D-Nice and a couple of other guys. I actually met them there. And so given some of there were still some restrictions. And even then with the CNN board at that time, it was somewhat kind of cumbersome. And so I just happened to just come across the software. And I'm thinking, you know what, this is a lot cleaner. It looks like a lot smoother. I just did it. And I said, hey, would you guys be willing to move over here and try it? And man, I'm gonna tell you, Avis, Robert, D Nice, those were literally like the first 3 guys who came on board, and for whatever reason, it just grew from there. And then there was JR, and then it just grew up. It just blew up to the extent to where, man, it just kept growing. So that was literally what the initial purpose was. The CNN message board was so cumbersome. I just saw that everything was the way it was structured, as opposed to actual threads at that time, and that was kind of, I guess, revolutionary. I don't know, but that was the new thing, and it was just a much cleaner look and a lot easier to follow. So that's literally what it was for me, the motivation for me to move to that particular format.
Gotcha.
Man, Ken, I got PSD when you mentioned Get Ready and Robber. I was a moderator on there, Ken. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Breakthrough moments. Floyd, what was a breakthrough moment when you felt like this page is I have my thoughts on a breakthrough moment, but what is your breakthrough moment for you?
I think that the breakthrough moment for me was when we actually had I think we call it the VIP room, and we had Sean Wyatt from BCC. Oh, it was BCC back then. Let me say that. And he actually came on the site and was taking questions and responding real time, to the questions in the room. And I think that really, to me, I said, okay, we are legit now. We got the respect of the MEAC community. We have participation from the coaches and athletic directors within the MEAC community. And so to me, that was breakthrough, because it's like, okay, we are legit, right? And it made me, feel like I was feeling the need. So to me, that was the big breakthrough moment. And Sean is the one that I remember the most. But we had multiple coaches, athletic directors, different personalities throughout the MEAC that actually came into there and did that. So that was breakthrough for me.
You were hosting town halls or those little town hall sessions and stuff like that, man. That was great. Christy, how about you? What's that breakthrough moment when you were like, all right, this is worth it. This feels like it's really worth it.
Oh wow. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is in 2002, this movie came out called Drumline. We knew all about it coming out because we knew people that were amongst the bands that were in the movie. Like, I could point out people, and I'm sure you all can too. Being Fam had a big influence in that movie. But I remember we actually had folks behind the scenes posting pictures on our website, like behind the scenes of the filming. And I remember that in December of 2002, before the premiere, Mike, 20th Century Fox invited myself and Mike Lee to go to New York for the press junket, and we got to interview the cast, and we interviewed Zoe Saldana and Nick Cannon and Orlando Jones and Charles Stone, who was the director. And we heard directly out of their mouths, like them telling us that they had looked at our site for research while they were filming the movie.
Wow. Nice.
So that's probably a pinnacle moment there. There's some other things I can name, but I mean, I feel like that was like, oh wow, they actually told us, like, I'm sitting talking to Orlando Jones, and he's like, yeah, I really like your site, and we use that. We looked on there for research, and there were even like some quotes from the movie that were direct quotes from things people posted on the 5th. So
awesome.
Yeah,
great history, great story there. Yeah.
That's wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. You bringing it up has me thinking, because I know that's a big thing, like nowadays when people are like really itching to get those early clips and videos. And I mean, I'm subscribed to a couple of YouTube channels where it's like, I mean, they're mentioning casting calls, but you guys were on top of all of that, I guess, behind the scenes, right? With that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, some of our most loyal posters were extras in the movie in some capacity. And yeah, so it was really cool to see it develop. I mean, I just remember even seeing the trailer because it was during that movie Brown Sugar.
Yes.
Just going to see Brown Sugar and seeing the trailer and everybody like going crazy. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so that was good times.
Nice. Ken, how about you? Is there a moment other than the Ken Riley article that you would say was sort of that breakthrough, or was?
Yeah, I was trying to pinpoint, because to be quite honest with you, there were several. You know, going back to the time to where SWAC commissioner, I can't think of his name. Oh my goodness. Anyway, you know, pissing the SWAC office off, asking me to remove the logos, which that was one issue. But I think in the plethora of things, there was an instance when the SWAC commissioner Washington actually, for whatever reason, registered on the website and decided to engage with Get Ready of all people, and that didn't end well. But I think the one moment. Yeah. There you go. Right. Yeah. Kenyatta knows. Yeah. But I think the one defining moment for me, and you guys may remember this was going back to the highly anticipated, I forgot what year it was, the highly anticipated matchup between Southern, which at the time was coached by Pete Richardson, and FAMU, which who was the coach at the time?
Billy Joe.
Billy
Joe.
Mm-hmm. And we already knew that was pretty heated at the time. And lo and behold, during a press conference, I knew we had arrived when Pete Richardson, of all people, held up a printout of the SWAC page message board, and he said, and I quote, "Somebody's going to get embarrassed." Southern got embarrassed that following Saturday. And there is a gun, and look, get ready. Look, the SMAC board is named in his honor because it was him who coined the phrase "FAMU scores again." And so it was a blowout. You know, I forgot what the score was, but the day Pete Richardson held that up in a press conference, and then the Baton Rouge Advocate did a report on it mentioning us, and I was just like, okay. But yeah, somebody's going to get embarrassed. That's when I realized, oh, wow, okay. These coaches read this too. And, you know, it's having an impact.
I'm curious. I mean, we know that the coaches, and by the time, because the fan engagement is there, and that the coaches and probably even the players are engaging. And you talked about some of those battles with the conferences. I'm curious, and it leads me to this thought about cooperation. Like, I mean, like nowadays with a lot of our entities, you know, we seem to be getting good cooperation or somewhat, because I think whether it be the conferences understand. I know that side eye. I know it's. I'm saying that kind of with a I don't know if I'm being tongue in cheek there but what I want to say is, how eager for information, or how helpful was the conferences, or in Christy, in your case, other bands, band directors, how helpful or maybe unhelpful, you know, were they back then?
And I just talk about the directors.
Yeah.
Some loved us, some did not love us. Some, and I think it was some of the older directors, not all, but some of them saw this new medium come about and they didn't know how to handle it. So I've gotten lots of stories of, I've heard lots of people getting either called out in their rehearsal for posting things on the 5th, or the band director telling them at the beginning of the year, I don't want to see no posts on the 5th that let me know, hey, you're looking, right? And, oh, my band director kicked me out because I said such and such on the 5th. But then there were also band directors that were supportive and used it as fuel, actually. They used it as fuel to strategize their halftime shows in their 5th quarter. I will tell you, my band director, and I'm a graduate of A&T, and the late Dr. Johnny B. Hodge was my director. And like, I know for a fact that him and his staff would strategize on what to play in a 5th quarter based off of things that they've read. They've kind of just used it like in strategy sessions and planning sessions. And you get to see what other bands are doing. You get to hear about it because, may not have been video then, but, you get to hear about what other bands are doing. And so based off of that, you can, strategize.
Nice. Interesting. Floyd, what about the MEAC? How was the MEAC or other schools receptive towards MEAC fans? Hold on, you're on mute, Floyd. You're on mute. Unmute.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, everybody was very receptive. All of the sports information directors, they were they were on board with it. I think we were doing a good job. I don't think we were negatively portraying our schools, so I don't think there was any reason for them not to work with us. And the good part is that we had people as members of the site that actually were somebody in their schools. Alumni association, or somebody that worked on campus, or somebody that was like really involved and had a lot of connections within their universities. And so we were able to get access to anything that we needed. It was great, right? We didn't have any resistance. Now we did do some things with people from MEAC fans, from a FAMU perspective. We did some things outside of MEAC fans that we were getting resistance from the university. Kelvin, he knows all about that. He was integral in all of that stuff. But from MEAC fan standpoint, the reception was great. We became like VIPs, right? We were on sidelines, we were in press boxes, we were everywhere, right? And like I said earlier, I'm not a journalist. I'm not writing an article. I'm not doing any of that. But we were having press passes, and we were, right there. Heritage Bowls, the conferences, they gave us a lot of assistance in each school, so there was no problems from our standpoint. Nobody asked me to take their logos down. None of that
stuff. I'm curious. I remember just from a FAMU perspective, Floyd, the MEAC fans was instrumental in the jerseys that were real popular. I mean, that's a big thing that I'm still amazed and miffed by, about why to this day you can't get authentic game worn or even close to replica style jerseys. But I remember MEAC fans was instrumental in getting jerseys. Did any other schools do anything similar outside of what FAM did in the MEAC, Floyd?
Yeah, so see, I'm not aware of that. The jersey thing was something that was done by majority of people that were involved with that were members of MEAC fans that met through MEAC fans, but we created a different organization that we were trying to, basically assist the athletic department with anything that they needed. And so it was people like Kelvin that truly didn't go through the university. We went through the vendor, right? The actual vendor that created or not created, but that made the jerseys for the school. And basically, when the schools had their order for jerseys that went into the vendor, our order was included with that. And so we had authentic jerseys, like you said, you can't even get them now. But even that, Kelvin knows, even that wasn't necessarily received well by the university, but we did it, right? And I still have my jerseys right now, number 0 RTD on the back. But I'm not sure what other schools did, but yeah, that's what we did. And it would be nice to see something like that happen again. It just, I just don't know how reasonable that would be.
That's a fight. Kenn, how about you? After Rudy Washington, or did he ever come around, or did the SWAC ever come around to
You know what?
being
Yeah,
supportive?
actually, the SWAC eventually did come around because the guy that I was referring to initially, James Frank, was the commissioner at the time that I started. And I don't really put a whole lot of stock into that because again, at the time, we were still at a stage to where no one at that time had any idea what the internet would eventually become and how impactful it would be and just how we do our day-to-day lives. I mean, you know, depending on where you are now, the internet is considered a utility. You have to have it. We're using the internet right now to use this to do this, you know. So I don't necessarily hold it, but I think the person who was probably the most forward thinking was former Commissioner Robert Viles. He was the person who actually he was in Dallas, where I live. He actually was in Dallas for the area, and he reached out to me and invited me for lunch. And we had a chat because instead of pushing back, Robert Viles, Commissioner Viles at the time, he utilized that. That was basically kind of like his R&D or his marketing, kind of like a way of research. That was his way of kind of gauging the fans in terms of what things we should consider, things we shouldn't consider, because even he knew that, and a lot of journalists in various markets, they relied upon information. Let me tell you something. But one of the things with these messenger boards, whether it be SWAC page, MEAC fans, fifth quarters, because of the fans being so engaged, man, we probably knew the journalists and individuals in the media came to our websites to get the scoop, because if they got it, they didn't, these are anonymous. But when you got word, well, just got word such and such coach's contract's not going to be renewed. And that happened too often, only to find out the coach's contract didn't get renewed. It was like, well, where did you get this from? And they got to the point where, okay, now you're reporting these stories. We know where it came from. You won't even, the problem with some of the mainstream outlets, they didn't want to view us as legitimate sources, as of information. When we knew, excuse the expression, we knew damn well where they got the information from, because there was no one else. These fans know the inner workings of how their schools operated. So back to Robert Viles, he appreciated it, and he didn't necessarily push back, to the extent that when that dinner was over with, he actually asked me, how much do you want to sell the SWAC page for? He wanted to make the SWAC page the official website of the SWAC. Now I said, no, this is, he understood. I'm like, look, you don't want that headache, because these folks are independent thinkers. They're free thinkers. This is not a PR website. I understand you wanting to gauge the reaction, but the last thing you need is to make the mistake of getting involved with, these, or to do what Rudy Washington did with Get Ready. And, that you don't want to do. He understood that. And he and I are friends to this very day. So he had the ability to be forward thinking and to basically embrace it, as opposed to trying to make it appear, kind of like this anti thing that no one should trust, because people are talking about the ADs and the coaches and how the coaches need to be fired and all this other stuff. But he embraced it, and he took, instead of looking at the so-called bad or the negative of what people were saying, he looked at it from a holistic standpoint and basically took it for what it was worth, and even admitted that some of the decisions that he would make were based upon the fan reactions and interactions, not only with our websites, but he even told me that, the MEAC fans and fifth quarter, all of these, that was kind of like where we are right now with social media. That's the impact that it's had, because now schools embrace social media. Well, Robert Viles at the time, he was commissioner, he embraced the SWAC page.
Yeah. Let's kind of talk about, before, I know I want to make sure we get some of these last talking points in with you guys. I'm going to kind of combine things. I'm curious about where you think the legacy, or your perspective on the legacy of your platform, but maybe share how your platform changed, or sort of I came to an end, or how it ceased to exist in that state in which it was. I'll start with let me start with you, Kenn, since you were just kind of talking, because I know yours has kind of transitioned in over time. But maybe when you talk about that legacy and talk a little bit about the transition there.
Well, I think the legacy with respect to the, so I view it at the time, there was the message board / the forums. And then we referred to the news part of the website as the front page. Well, obviously things have transitioned to the extent that the message board, I think the legacy of this is, and this may be the case with the Fifth or even MEAC fans. I say all the time that the SWAC page literally is responsible for producing families. There are people who met, married, had babies, and those babies that I recall are now in college. And I'm just like, what? Some not together. But the fact of the matter is that that's just how engaging or how impactful the message boards were at the time, because many of the groups right now that we see on Facebook and some primarily in Facebook, a lot of those groups were birthed from my message board, MEAC fans in the fifth quarter. These people who were pretty much administrators of some of these groups were people who were regular users who have now utilized the technology of Facebook and they pretty much continued that. So obviously we can't compete with Facebook, and I don't try. I mean, there's still some individuals, the old schoolers that I say that will pretty much engage on the board right now. But obviously the focus for us right now is more so, news and information. And that's our primary focus. But the board in and of itself, man, that was the thing that, like I said, we've created families, and that's just it's just kind of jarring to think of that.
Well, I want to say this the right way, so I don't want to get in trouble here. Anybody name their kid after you, Ken? Anybody name their kid Ken? I hope
No.
I
won't say all that, but at least that I'm not aware of.
No kid named SWAC page running around, because we see some crazy names these days.
No, man.
All right.
No.
Floyd, talk a little bit about the what do you think that legacy of MEAC fans and kind of how it transitioned? When did you sort of close the door on it?
Yeah, like it's funny too, because to me, I kind of got burnt out, right? Like like I mentioned earlier, my big thing was I was trying to make sure I was better than all the other sites, right? So I was trying to do innovative things all the time, and with that was a lot of work, man.
Man.
It's a lot of work, man. You know what I mean? Like a simple thing, like I think I was the first one to actually allow the people to pick like a logo to go under their names, right? And to show what school they represented, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then at first I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do the MEAC schools. But then I was like, no, I want everybody to come here. I want everybody from the SWAC page to come here. So I need to have all those schools. And then I wanted everybody from Mr. Moore's site to come over here. So I need all those schools. But do you know how long it takes to go out and get every single HBCU's logo?
Especially at that time.
At that time,
right? You got to resize it. You got to make it transparent. You got to say, you know how long that takes, and different things like that, right? I even had like a football picks game where you could come and you could pick all the like a pool. You could pick all the winners of the game.
Oh, I remember that. Okay, sorry.
You know how much work that took to do that and keep it going. And then once the bigger we got, the kind of crazier it got. You want to moderate. You got to moderate some of the crazy stuff that people are saying, and some of that stuff is wild. But I mean, I have a job too, right? I can't see everything. And so then you got the non-FAMU people saying, "Oh, you want to moderate the non-FAMU stuff. You let the FAMU people say everything they want to say it." So then it's like, you get a little frustrated, and it just was overwhelming, right? You get more responsibilities, you get families, things like that. So truly, I just let it go. But I think the legacy is like Ken mentioned, right? The relationships. the friendships, the people that, you know, like some of the people, I don't know what their real name is, right? I know that it's this name from MEAC fans, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, get ready.
Make a whole bed rock.
Yeah, make a whole bed rock. Yeah.
Oh yeah, who is that?
Yeah.
Who is that? Oh, sorry.
I know it.
He's a J State guy. Yeah.
Oh, I remember him, but I was like, who is
Right,
that person
so-
in real life?
Yeah, so I think those relationships, like all you know, Kelvin, man. I go to Tallahassee, like games like the Lincoln game. I come to Tallahassee just to see Kelvin. I don't care about seeing Lincoln, right? I come to see Kelvin. I come to see Sonya. I come to see all the other people that's up there, Shauna Barber. You know, different people from that I met through MEAC fans that really were at FAMU the same time that I was there. I didn't know them, but we met through this community. Every time we go to another game, at a away game, you know, we try to meet up with people from MEAC fans from there. I think that's the key for me, like the legacy, to see those relationships, and these people I've gotten to see my kids grow up. I've gotten to see their kids grow up. It's just great like that. I'm just, you know, happy to be able to look back and say, okay, I was able to create something that touched so many people and impacted this many lives. So to me, that's the legacy that MEAC fans leave. And we looking to do some type of reunion next year, which would be like 25 years. So we're looking to try to plan something next year, and so we'll see how that goes.
Floyd, when did you sort of officially turn the lights out? When did you say, all right, I got to unplug the server here and shut it down? When just roughly year, maybe?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. Maybe around, I don't know, maybe 2007, 2008, sometime around there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that's about right.
Okay. Christy, I know the fifth quarter, you just, it almost feels recently, a couple of years ago, I guess the fifth quarter turned the lights out and ended almost a 20-year run. Talk a little bit about just the legacy and you know, I know I was listening to a recent podcast or a podcast, and you guys were talking about how, you know, just how it all sort of came to an end or whatever, but just maybe talk a little bit about that legacy and just why after 20 years, you know, was it just kind of time? Had it run its course? Did you see it other things coming around?
Well, it's a mix of everything. So we were live for exactly 20 years. We started January 1999 to January 19th, 2019. So we shut it down after 20 years to the exact day. And I think it was just a mix of things, like it had run its course. I mean, you think about what happens in 20 years. At the time, Mike didn't have any kids, you know, like, and now he's got like 3 kids, and you know, we both have gotten our doctorate degrees, and just life has been lifing, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and I think with social media and things arising and being popular as it is, you know, people weren't really congregating on the message boards as much. But I'm fine with that, because you know, I was really just living my life, and it was just time to move on. I mean, I will tell you personally, through my doctoral process, it drained me. It drained a lot of me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to start, because I had just recently finished when we shut down the site, and I was like, well, it's time to move on. You know, I finished this chapter of my life in many ways, so it's time to start new chapters. The legacy of the fifth, I mean, that's hard to say, but I do know that there are 5 fifth quarter babies walking on this earth. Countless marriages, relationships. Those 5 kids, they're still around. Like, I think the oldest ones are like they're seniors in high school. It's a set of twins that I'm thinking about. Seniors in high school. And so they'll be going to college soon. And also, you know, people who were in high school are in college. at the time of the beginning of the fifth are now like they're HBCU band directors and assistant directors. There's
Wow.
been a whole changing of the tide. It's a whole new generation of band directors now that grew up with the fifth, or at least use the fifth in some kind of capacity. So I think it's influencing bands. It's just really influencing people who want to march in an HBCU band.
I know we're running up against the time for our time with you guys, and I mean, we really appreciate just kind of stepping back and kind of sharing. And I guess I want to maybe close with just a thought about where we are. Like I kind of look at the SWAC talk that goes on now, and I don't know if it's because it's a different medium, or maybe some folks are a little more sensitive, or maybe just the world in general is more sensitive. What's your view on? And I don't want you to don't feel like you have to be super long about it, but I'm curious about your thought on social media today compared to your platforms and what you created. Is social media and the way we talk and the way we SWAC talk, are we building each other up in a way, sort of like those families and those networks that you guys talked about, and those communities in 15 years, 10 years from now? Is the current state of social media helping to do more of that for the younger generation, or is it spiraling in a bad direction? That could be a very long-winded question. I know I just asked, but I'm curious. I couldn't find a better way of saying it. So I'll start with you, Ken, and then Floyd, and we'll go in with Christy.
I'll make this real brief because I know we're up against time. I'll just simply say this. I still love SWAC. I still embrace it. I still appreciate it. But I will say this, that when I do engage, I typically only engage with people who I know. I don't do it with anyone who I'm not familiar with. I do believe that back at the time that we were involved with it, I think we were a little bit more responsible. We were a little bit more respectable. And because we had managed to we could separate the personal from the play.
Right.
We could I would tell some folks sometimes, like real quick, some of the newer people who would sign on to the message boards, we would always say, look, don't just get on here and do what you see other people's doing. Just because that person can say it to me doesn't necessarily mean that you can. Or if you come in here thinking that you know everything, folks are going to come in and they're going to slap you upside and you can get your feelings hurt, but things have changed. And I think more so because now money is involved. And so companies are going to be a lot more sensitive, if you will, in terms of what's said, in the public space and so forth. So things that we could say then, we certainly can't say now. And, but I've just gotten to the point to where, to keep things safe and kind of stay out of the mess, if I'm going to engage with anyone, it's going to typically be with somebody who I know or who I already have a relationship with.
All right. Floyd, how about you?
Yeah, so I 100% agree with Ken. I love SWAC, right? But now on social media, I don't necessarily engage with it as I would have done back in my older days. The people that know me know back in 99, 2000, 2001, I would have been rolling with the best of them, right? You know what I mean? I'm the guy that goes and sits in the center of the other team's student section or something like that, right? I'm the guy that take the big flag to Troy State, right? And walk up and down Troy State side with the FAMU flag, right? That's me back then, right? And so, but nowadays, I try to be more toned down. I think that back in the days, the SWAC talk that we did was more thought out, right? It was more,
yeah.
I don't know. I want to say intelligent.
Yeah.
It was more
Creative.
educated. I'm just gonna say it was more educated, right? some of these things that people did, I think they could be world-class best-selling novelists or writers, right? Some of the creativity that they show with these with these posts and threads that they came up with. And so I think that and like Ken mentioned, right, we always say, if even a FAMU person, right, if you come in here just talking crazy and you don't have your facts straight, we not even going to try to defend you, right? You come in here, you got, one thing they're going to do is fact check you when you come on these forums. So you better have all your facts straight. You better, because they, like Ken said, they will smack you and set you straight if you come out with some bad information, right? And so, but I think nowadays, like, people are trying to be more hurtful.
Right.
Put less thought behind it. I don't think we really did that. We were trying to be funny, I believe.
Yeah.
And so and we didn't really get personal, things like that. Even when it came to political conversations, which we really had to try to regulate back then, it wasn't the same as now when people get into those political conversations and really get personal with it. So I think that nowadays it's going a little too far, but like Ken said, there's other factors related that people are really trying to get likes and be famous and things like that. I don't think we were really trying to do that. We were just trying to be funny.
Exactly right.
What about you, Christy?
I'm okay with some smack talk. I mean, y'all just had the Florida Classic. Like, I'm gonna say my little smack to North Carolina Central. I've been talking, smack, but like Floyd said, there's a difference between like the educated smack, and I feel like nowadays a lot of it goes below the belt. And I think it's maybe for the desire to be viral. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm not a huge smack talker. We had a smack board. I mean, it's fine to have a smack board, but I don't know. That just really wasn't my MO. But on another note, I wanted to bring this. I'm actually at my parents' house in Virginia, and I was looking in the closet and I found this. The SWAC page.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Y'all remember this? Yeah, I still
absolutely.
So I was like, oh my gosh, it was just like divine intervention that I was like,
oh wow.
Here today.
Wow.
So look, I ain't new to this, I'm true to this. So
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Let me jump in and say, first of all, to all three guests, thank you all for what y'all did, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's an honor for you all to be here. And as Floyd mentioned, many of you mentioned, not only did we develop friendships, families, and so forth. My daughters, my oldest daughters, one now has a PhD, and both of them are in pharmacy area, but they were just born. They were like 1 and 3 when I joined the SWAC page, and then the fifth quarter and I was on all 3 pages, by the way. And I may have partook in some smack here and there, guilty. But I really enjoyed those forums, those platforms. It also gave me an opportunity to do some civic duties, support my university, because it connected me with other like-minded people. And as Ken kind of alluded to, and all the panels alluded to, a lot of us were people in the know. Whether we had titles or not, we were connected with folks at our respective universities. And so our information was really good.
Yep.
So I think that what made it special. But you all way before your time. This is like, I don't even know if MySpace was even around then, right?
No,
that even came out. That
predates Facebook. It predates MySpace.
Yeah. And I'm laughing when I think it was Ken who mentioned Comp USA, because how I found all these pages, how I became a part of it. I opened the original Comp USA here in Tallahassee once I graduated from school. So I always had, I had the best computers and the best software and so forth. and so I had access to technology. So that's why I joined the pages. But man, I really enjoyed and appreciate everything y'all did, and just look at us now. No one could have told me. I mean, I got a regular 8 to 5 and I do other things. My background is not in journalism or IT or anything. But here I am with a platform now doing a podcast and reaching back to you all who I first got introduced to technology through you all. So I want to say you all legacy is not just family and friends and relationships, but you've also created professionals who are still doing things in the media technology space. So well done. You deserve your kudos. And I just really love this show.
If I can interject real quick, Brian, I want to thank all three of you
please.
guys, all three of you for accepting our invitation and wanted to give the opportunity to give you your flowers. Having met Kelvin through MEAC fans, having met Floyd, and having heard of Christy and Kenn just in the various boards because they're all cross interacted, but also to establish not only to the folks, our audience that watches dutifully, to the folks that help to birth those venues, but also to tie the string to what we're doing now on Instagram, Twitter, a lot of the folks. And part of the concept that we had was to have a 2-part series where we would look back at the formative years of social media as we would know it now. And then perhaps maybe a part 2 sometime in the future, have some folks who are currently doing it in different media platforms, whether it be Twitter, YouTube, or things like that, to speak to that legacy, but also how it's going to go forward. But I wanted to make sure that you guys got your flowers. And I know that there are probably some other folks that we probably could have asked to be a part of it that were integral back then. But I know just in our discussions that having you three as the faces and the brains behind what you did back then and the legacy of what continues on in the respective venues for the SWAC, the MEAC, and for those band aficionados. Just want to say thank you for all that you've done, and your legacy lives on.
I appreciate it. And just for the record, believe it or not, I will be making my first trip ever to Tallahassee for the SWAC championship game. So hopefully I'll run into you guys ever.
Wow.
Look, I'm a Grambling man. I had no look. There was Saturdays I was doing Grambling games. Okay, so just don't at me. Okay, I'm just saying I'm coming. First time.
But you definitely got to come to the tailgate.
Yeah, Kelvin, you definitely make sure Ken has the information about the tailgate.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday, the Friday before.
I just want to take a second and say, and while we're sharing stories and thinking about this, I still have visuals of sitting in a job 9 to 5, and I would have my work on one browser and the message. If you didn't have the message board on another browser, and with like your boss or whomever come around, you minimize that browser real quick, and you be like, "Hey, I'm getting work done," and then you come back. Let me check. And I'm hitting the refresh button, and let me see. Did they respond to my post? Did they look at this? Look,
people would tell me they would set it to their homepage.
Yeah, I've had athletic directors. One person, an athletic director, actually told me he became so obsessed with the information or things that were said on our website. It got to the and especially when they were talking about him, it got to the point to where he said he had to literally peel away because he became so. It bothered him that much as to what people were saying about him. He literally had to push himself away. And then there's the other story of a guy who said, "Hey man, just wanted to let you know how you doing." I'm like, "How are you?" He said, "Just want to let you know I got fired." I'm like, "I'm sorry to hear that." He goes, "Why?" He goes, "Spending too much time on the SWAC page." And
whoa.
Yeah. So I
spent extra hours working on projects because it took me too long to work on them when I should have been working on them at work. I was messing around on MEAC fans or something like that, or pumping around to the SWAC page. I was like, yo, this. So I guess in all, folks those of you who are, who remember all of this stuff, make sure to share this segment with people. And I hope that a lot of the new content creators that are out there, just remember, it didn't all start with you. There's a history to this thing, and that's the great thing about this HBCU diaspora. This place, there's history, whether it be, there's history in our sports and our athletes, in our communities, that, we need to continue to tell stories and educate people, because there are a lot of new people in this space. And it's great that you recognize things that are now, but if you can peel back and start learning more about the history, man, it's a beautiful history. This is just a small part of the HBCU sports and band culture and history right here, because these folks brought people together. And this was at a time when, instant access is great now, but boy, we had these people were the ones who spent hours creating the mechanisms for us to be able to spend, time connecting. So whatever amount of time it took us, imagine it was 2 to 3 times more for them. And so, Floyd, Christy, Kenn, we appreciate you. Thank you. We're glad you came on the show. We're glad that you came on to talk about, and just glad to see that the history and legacy is still so vivid, and it's still so vibrant, and that it brings up good memories that we want to talk about and share. So I mean, and
you look so good. You age well. Yeah. Y'all must be living right, doing things right, because
Amen. Living right, doing right. God is good.
I got a filter on the camera, man. Don't be fooled. There's a filter. Believe me, I got the settings just right.
Well, don't change it. Don't change it.
One last thing, Floyd. When Christy, when she pulled out that hat, I still got a MEAC Fans T-shirt somewhere, but I have the official MEAC Fans banner, because remember, we used to have to get together where everybody would come out. Usually it was in Atlanta with Deborah Threed and
shout out to her. She actually helped put our first SWAC page reunion together out in Atlanta. So yeah.
And I dropped the plug in the there's a MEAC Fans, a private MEAC Fans group on Facebook. I put a plug in there yesterday or this morning, so hopefully some of them showed up, or at least can catch this on the replay.
But I have the banner. I have the banner to Floyd, and I guess I need to give it to you when you.
Hey, that'd be great. Like, I'm just out of town. I'm not out of town right now, but at home I have
at the game or something. Yeah,
I have everything.
I'll bring it to the tailgate.
Okay, all right.
Well, I look at it and say it's moments like this that remind that now that we have this super event at the end of the season called the Celebration Bowl, and it is truly an opportunity to celebrate. And I'm sure that somebody here is probably thinking about, oh, you know what, I need to do a fifth quarter tailgate or a SWAC page reunion meetup or a MEAC fan. Somebody's gonna do it if it's not one of y'all three. So but anyway, hopefully this kind of inspires that kind of thing where we get an opportunity to come together again and share old stories and some smack talk and have fun and kind of catch up. So again, Floyd, Dr. Christy, Kenn, appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for coming.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thank you all as well, man. God bless you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you all as well. Everybody else, hang tight. We're going to get back to talking into some Rattler athletic news right on the other side of this short break. You're watching the O&G StrikeZone right here on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
I'm returning to Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
We're going to Florida, and we're going to bring you back a victory to Jackson. Yeah. God to y'all!
What you say now, Chuck? Man, you a plum fool, man.
Plum fool.
It never gets old. I had to drop Chuck in there. I figured since we were talking some smack and just finished talking some smack, I had to drop in some info there. You know, just I couldn't do a show without Chuck, the plum fool, for thinking that that they were going to turn the classic into some blue bonnet classic or whatever it is. I tried to turn
blue blossom, blue bottom, you know, whatever, yeah.
Like, well, see, I almost said something. I got to live on the show now, so I got to be. I can't say what I was just about to slip out there. Liv, Olivia Antilla, and ladies and gentlemen, Liv, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
What's up, Liv?
Doing great.
Liv, while we're talking smack talk, what's some of the best smack talk you heard in the MEAC in your games? Like when you went on the road, what crowd and what fan base really had some good original smack talk for you and your teammates when you guys were out there?
North Carolina A&T.
Yeah.
They had good ones. And then Hampton. Those were probably the two most like fans that were engaged during the game. Those places when we were on the road probably had that. Oh, and obviously Bethune, like their gym is so tiny and small that 20 people makes it feel like it's a full crowd. So
pow.
Yeah, see, pow, right there, right? Pow. That's how we do. I love it. See, that's how you know. That's how you know. Look, those subtle swipes that we get you, boy. All right. So, Liv, our Lady Rattlers, open the home schedule. Open the home season. Excuse me. How do I want to say this? Their home opener was Monday against Cal. I had a chance to be there. Kelvin had a chance to be. Well, I don't know. Kelvin, did you make it in time? You didn't make it in time, did you?
I did. Well, second half.
Right. You had a chance to see it. And I still have to find I will send you the clip of the post game from Coach. But okay, just general observations from you were what of that game against Cal?
the same things I've kind of been seeing throughout the first 4 games, one, they got annihilated on the boards. They lost the rebounding by over 20. One player by herself, it was number 0 from Cal. She was a monster on the boards. And what else, when I was really watching the game, FAMU actually got up more shots than Cal. They just couldn't make them. They got up 2 more shots than Cal and ended up losing by almost 40. So those 2 things, like I've said, their interior presence on both offense and defense has been the Achilles heel for me. Having someone who truly wants to be inside, and then finding people who can score. Like, you're not going to beat any team scoring only 38 points in a game. And so the rebounding is it was
hard to watch.
It was bad. And then to let a player come out and continuously shoot threes and make threes after she's made 3, that is just undisciplined defense, to be completely honest. Once a shooter hits 2, once they hit that 3rd, it's no longer a heat check. They are on fire. So to allow a scorer to continue shooting, it was very undisciplined defense and undisciplined offense. Players, like I've mentioned before, forcing the issue of trying to score instead of just playing team basketball. Bad shot selection. And it wasn't by the whole team, but unfortunately, basketball is a team sport. So if one player or 2 players are doing it, it affects everyone.
You know what's funny about hearing you say that? See, and Kelvin, this is why we have Live to Balance. See, and Kelvin, I think you were in this boat too. We watched the game, and we were like, "Ooh, we're working harder. Our effort is better." Yes, we know we're getting out rebounded, but this girl is 6'3" and more athletic than any girl we have on our entire roster. Don't just point to me. Don't just point. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway, so and then we're doing the comparison. We were like, hey, we only gave up 76 points. I mean, look, the last 3 games we gave up 90 something. I know we only scored 36 points, but yes, we had a lot of, unfortunately, I don't know what the total was, but I know with about 3 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, we were like 4 of 20 in the paint. 4 of 20. That's a lot of missed layups and a lot of missed shots near the rim. So I'm trying to be glass half full, right? Coach Gordon comes in the post-game presser. And when you see the video, it is the great, and look, she was so hot, it took her longer. Allison Posey of what station is Allison at now?
She's with CBS local.
Okay,
WCTV.
Coach Gordon was so 38 mad about that game that it took her 20 minutes. Did it take her 20? It took her 20 minutes to come in the media room. And the first thing she came out and said is she was like, we are soft. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but she did say, quote unquote, we are soft. And she was disappointed. She was like, we had a week off. We got girls who were distracted, had distractions, weren't ready to deal with the home environment. I mean, I can't imagine how she ripped into them in the locker room. I'm sure you've been around for some rippings by your former coach in the locker room, but I got a feeling this might have been the first good butt whip ripping that this team got. And so I felt at that time, Liv, we got the right coach. We got the right coach, because I don't think she's going to allow this team to just be average or accept being average. Am I paraphrasing that post-game presser correct, Kelvin? What's your take on the post-game presser from Coach?
She was real clear about what she felt was a poor performance by her team. And the person she brought in, the young lady she brought in with her to the press conference, she mentioned that she brought her in because her effort was there. You know, even if her numbers weren't there, and she made a point to emphasize, whether it's practice, whether it's in the classroom, everything this young lady does, she does it with effort. And she made a point again about, you know, even if your shots ain't falling, rebounding is about effort. Playing defense is about effort. And she was clear she's not going to accept that lack of effort from her team. And you know, she talked about going back to the drawing board and you know, finding some rotations that give a little more. She did mention, you know, she just got one of her bigs cleared, and she got what she was looking for in terms of effort from another one. So I imagine she's going to tinker with her lineup a little bit also. But she kept saying coach is not happy, and she was very transparent. And you know Brian, we had this discussion, and here's what I agree with you. I love that, but I'm old school, so I you know, I'm feeling it, right? She said all the right things. She didn't go too far, in my opinion. But the question I have is, this particular team that she's coaching this year, are they able to respond? You know, when you're a great player and you played at a high level, and obviously when you listen to Coach talk in our post game, she knows the game so well. I mean, she was spitting out stats that you normally don't even look at, right? That ain't on a normal stat sheet, right? You have to go into the details to look at some of the stuff she was spitting out. And you know, great players, because they played at a high level, and she mentioned it. She hate losing more than she like winning. And so, like a lot of great players, sometimes that's tough to translate to a team that doesn't have that kind of ability or talent. So I'm interested if she can get the performance she needs out of this team from day to day to keep improving. She kept talking about being 1% better in practice, 1% better the next game. She said she still felt like that they were getting that 1% better part, but I'm interested to see how this team respond. I mean, I know in our day, when your coach call you soft, I got to make sure that coach never say that again about my effort. But you know, I also know today's athletes, you know, are a little different, and it is a little more complicated. Some of them still can respond to it. Some of them quit on you. So I'm just interested to see what I see on Saturday when I go watch them play North Florida.
And let me add to this, Liv, and you talk on this if you would, because you coach young people, this day and age, young girls. How do you think that kind of messaging, you know, goes over when a team, like I said, when a team has experienced kind of losing that some of these girls have had in the past, but you're staring at a legend. You're literally being coached by a legend. How do you think that respond? How do you think that translates to this group?
It can be a few ways. One, they may not care that she's a legend, if we're being completely honest. Like, every person that plays basketball, especially with these younger generations, they don't know the history of the game. They don't understand the impact, or sometimes they just don't care. They just want to hoop. For me, players respond well when there's built relationships. Obviously, none of us know what those relationships look like, or what the locker room looks like, what's been happening in there. I would hope that they will respond, but in my opinion, it shouldn't have even, like, that was just, it was ugly. It was bad basketball. Yeah. And to me, if you are really a hooper, because Calvin, the quote you said, she said, that's literally the quote I've said my entire life. I hate losing more than I like winning, because I will do everything in my power to make sure we don't lose. I don't care who's scoring, who's doing what, but we're going to get out there. And so I think she's really going to have to probably mix up the starting lineup, mix up who's getting more minutes, because if you see lack of effort, there was multiple times I saw people jogging back on defense. Like those things are just unacceptable. And when a player sees one other player doing it, if they don't have that same mentality as her, they're all going to start doing the same thing. So I would hope that they'll show up and they'll want to compete. But from what I've seen, it's been very up and down with them. Versus Tennessee, I thought they competed. Versus Middle Tennessee, no one showed up besides Hendricks that entire game. Then versus Florida, they played a few quarters that were hard. That last game, I thought only 2 people were really exuding hardcore like energy. Whether that, like, even if they weren't scoring, they were the ones diving on the floor, trying to go for rebounds. And with the rebounding thing, my 2 years there, our point guard was our leading rebounder, and she was 5'8", and that's just because she wanted the rebounds. So shout out to KD because she was. And so rebounding just takes effort. If you box out or you want to stand there, like, it's just very much lackluster watching them play. And I just personally, when I'm guarding someone, it's supposed to be personal. Like, I'm taking this personal. And so if you're not going to do it like for your coach, at least do it for yourself. So like you are out there giving your all for yourself, but it's just the 5 players on the floor at one time. There's always 1 or 2 that are not on the same page as everyone else, unfortunately.
One of the other things she talked about was the distractions of being at home, being in the home game, the home environment. What's your what you know? You seem like a locked in basketball player, so I mean this may not apply to you. But did you have teammates who maybe in those first or second home games, or maybe every home game, I don't know, that were just kind of maybe distracted a little bit or were worried about things other than basketball?
People that played, no.
Oh,
and I really want to listen to like the whole presser so I can understand, because in my opinion, this is my opinion, listing distractions as a reason for players' output, me personally, I don't agree with that. Every single school is going to have distractions or other things going on. I think everything else she was saying that you guys were saying, she said, I can agree with, but the distraction things is just kind of like, at the end of the day, once that clock starts, your mind should be on winning a basketball game and not being embarrassed in front of your home crowd.
Amen, sister.
Liv, actually, I think you have some breaking news for us.
Yeah, I was going to say it before we got into it, but hot off the press, FAMU women's basketball has their first commit of the 2024-2025 season. It's Eve Alexander, a high school player from Louisiana. She recently posted her offer, and she has committed to FAMU. It's their first one, and so she's from what I've been told, she's a very gritty kid, gets after it, can jump out of the gym. She brings all those things that may not show up on the stat sheet, but that are needed on teams.
Mm-hmm. And when her offer came out, I did a little research. She's listed as 6 foot. She plays for Lafayette Christian Academy in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I don't know, seems like since it's an academy, I don't know if it's K through 12, but apparently they have a pretty good history of competing at their level, in their classification for state titles. I think they made it the state semifinals last year. I think either the year before or 2 years before they won the state title. And I don't know if she was a part of it depending on her age, but it seems like Lafayette Christian Academy has a pretty good history in Louisiana in terms of being competitive programs.
So that's exciting. They have their first one kind of showing the vision of Coach Gordon. And that's why I'm going to be very real about every team that I'm watching play, because this is the team that we're currently watching. But I also want people to be mindful. There's only one player that Coach Gordon actually recruited to be on this team. We don't know like the other players that she wants come on, but this kind of gives us a vision. And I know that there's like 2 more possibly coming up the pipeline that will be coming out. And so I think as the season progresses and we see who she's bringing in, it will give a bigger picture to what she's trying to build here.
Yeah.
And if you watch that game on Monday, you probably can figure that out. Anyway, looking forward, next games.
Mhm.
We've got home games Saturday against Jacksonville, and I was just looking up here on a website to see what their RPI is.
We should be able to compete.
They come in. Well, I don't know. Jacksonville, their RPI is like 64.
You care about RPI and stuff, huh?
You don't want me to tell you.
You the stat guy. I mean, you the stat guy.
The only thing I will say is their coach is a known winner. Special Jennings, who this is her first year being the coach there, first collegiate coach, she's a winner. So I will never look past any team that she's coaching, because out Mount Verde Academy, they won the national championship like back to back. So I haven't paid much attention to them. I know that she got her first win, I think, on game 3, but I'm sure they'll be coming in hungry, ready to compete. And that's just how she coaches. Like, she's a no games type of coach whatsoever.
Yeah, when they actually come in, they won their first Division I game against Georgia Southern back on November 16th. So they've been off for it'll be 9 days, pretty much, all this week and the past weekend. So they've got us, and again, I mean, look, we're on a complete other spectrum when I tell you about RPIs and all that stuff. But after that, then we go on the road and we play. Doggone it, I just closed it out. Sam Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Houston, their RPI is like 24. That team is like a top 25 type team. Did you notice that? I mean, I looked at them, I'm like, damn, Sam Houston State. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And then after that, they play Houston, who always has a good battle strong team. So I think it's going to be three very challenging games, and I hope the team steps up and is like ready to be the attacker and not be attacked. But I think one game at a time. We start with Jacksonville, see how that goes, and then build off of that. But it will, I think, like their whole non-conference schedule, in my opinion, is very difficult.
Yeah.
Because even after that, South Alabama, they're not like, they have a good team. Detroit Mercy, they have a gritty, physical team. Then they play Michigan, which that in itself explains that game. And then even start conference, they start at Bethune, which Bethune is coming off of a win today versus Georgia Southern. They beat Iona. I really hope they get it together by the time January 6th starts when they play Bethune, because right now Bethune is rolling and they're really like getting all their pieces together.
Let me just jump in real quick, Liz. And I want to see if Liz see the same, since we see a lot of the same things a lot of times. One of the things I've noticed with this team 4 games in, we need a point guard.
Yes, we do. And I don't know if anyone else noticed, but Sylvester number 0 got her first minutes probably in like the third quarter.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if she was injured or if it was just coach's decision to not play her up to that point. But I thought when she came in, she brought a lot of energy. To me, she's the only real point guard on the team, because Grizzle's not a point guard. She's a scoring guard,
Right.
and it's putting a lot of pressure on her to do both. And I've said this so many times. I've tweeted it. I just want Zubarats to stand on the 3-point line, catch and shoot. Like, putting her in the uncomfortable situation to bring the ball up. I think that's also what's causing the offense to not score a lot of points is they don't have someone to set it up. Because at times you'll see Grizzle come up and she'll just dribble till she gets a basket, it was giving me flashbacks of last year. I was like, we can't do this. Like, we need to get some movement, but I get it. She's a scorer and they're telling her to score, but we definitely need we need to play a point guard and get one.
In general, who looks good in the SWAC? You mentioned Bethune-Cookman got the win today. I was watching that first half against Georgia State.
It was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah. So the second half was ugly. I'm glad I didn't watch it. The first half was kind of like, okay. Who's looking good in the SWAC right now? Is in your evaluation? I know you were kind of high on UAPB after the first week or two. Who's looking good when you look at the SWAC in general?
Yeah. So Jackson State, of course. I mean, their first two games, I said they shouldn't have been. I told you this, Brian. They shouldn't have been playing an NAIA and a D2 team, but they did what they did. But they got their first Division I win, and I thought I could tell they didn't play their best basketball because Bowler didn't get going till like the last fourth quarter, who was preseason player of the year. But their post players looked dominant in that game. They start a 6'6" girl, bring a 6'5" center off the bench, and have a 6'5" sophomore waiting to get subbed in. Like, their post players looked unstoppable, like getting triple teams, still scoring the basket. I'll be really interested. They actually play UCF tomorrow. So I'm excited to watch that. I think Prairie View has shown me really good glimpses, but then they just end up teetering away at the end of the game. But they've shown me some really good things. They have a LSU transfer who's their starting point guard, Ryan Payne. She can score, she can light it up. And I will always say UAPB, but they played an NAIA team last week and they scored like over 100 points. But they do play Tulsa this coming in Friday, which should be a good game. And then Bethune. Those are kind of like the top 4 teams that have been sticking out to me in gameplay. A lot of let me not forget Southern, because I know everyone's going to be like, but they're 0-5. They almost beat Miami, who went to the Elite 8 last year. That game was down to the wire. And I know everyone's money games, because that's what you guys were writing in the comments last time. Money games. But I get they're playing those. But when you look at who everyone else is playing that are playing those, they're a lot closer to these teams than everyone else. And to take a team that went to the Elite 8 last year down to the wire, they look good. Chloe Fleming, their starting point guard, looks really good. So those are kind of the top 5 teams that are sticking out to me right now, a couple games in.
So all money game opponents are not the same.
It's not. I was about to say, it's how you play against them. What I'm seeing. So I don't know. Southern's they're coached very, very well. And they stick to their style of basketball, which I like. So winning or losing, you are going to get the same Southern, and it worked out for them last year. So
yes. Kelvin's favorite team, the Southern Lady Jaguars. Let's go for a second, just in kind of we were also there to catch the men who played a good game against Oregon. And, they were the biggest stat that I came at the end of the day that we came up was the free throws. Oregon shot 36 free throws.
Crazy.
Made 22. We were actually 10 of 13 You lose a game by 13 points. You get outshot. Well, the other team takes, what is that, 26? Or I can't do the math.
23, I think.
23 more free throws, 12 more made. There's your ball game. But other than that, I thought I was really impressed with the men's game. Kelvin, what was your Kelvin? And then I mean, Marcus, you got a chance to watch the men as well. So we'll kind of go around the horn on this one. Kelvin, what was your take on the men's performance?
Man, look out for that backcourt. Love and KJ Parker.
Yes, sir.
They legit. Yeah, they legit. They get and they true combo guards, right? So both of them can handle the ball off the dribble and they can set your offense up. But both of them can score at will anytime they want. They can score at all levels. They can score at the hoop, they can score in the mid range, and they can score from the three. So that's something that travels. When you have guards, then you can play. I need my post guys, my 6'10" guy, to be more of a force. I mean, if you look at his stats over the first 4 games, I mean, Shannon Grant, he's like scoring like 4 or 5 points a game. He's getting like a couple of rebounds. He's not big enough presence. Now, coach believes in him. Coach talked about it, in the presser afterwards that he's coming. He's coming off an injury and so forth, but he feels like he's about to round into shape. So we'll see how that goes. But I happen to coach kind of let me in on another nugget. And I'm waiting for this to happen, but we'll probably have another guard join the team at some point shortly. And this person probably will be the point guard, which will allow KJ and Love to kind of be twos and occasional points. This is somebody who's familiar with the team, with the coaching staff, someone who's started before. So I'm interested to see how that gets introduced. We still haven't seen our 3-point specialist yet, and I think that's
his name. Don't say his name.
I'm not going to say the name. But if you
don't say his name,
I'm not going to say it this time.
You got to say it 3 times before he shows up.
But if you introduce him with what we have with the other guards, man, I'm telling you, man, he's the perfect fit for the team we have right now. And so I don't know. He hasn't spoke to what's going on with that situation yet still. But if we can get that 6'6" guard / small forward involved in the offense, man, this team has some potential. They do. You was there, Eastman came in, or Eatman, whatever the other 6'9" kid came in. It had some blocks. It had some blocks and played tough. So I agree with you, man. We played toe to toe, and I would tell you, we were just as aggressive because, as you noticed, our guards went for 18 and 18. So we were driving the ball and stuff. So that free throw discrepancy, I mean, rebounds were pretty much even. I think they might have out rebounded us by 2. The only difference in the whole game was the way they officiated the game. And coach, he said he never blames the refs and everything, and they got to be tough, and I love it. But that was really this particular game. That was really the biggest difference. We shot 3 better than they shot the 3. So I was pleased with his effort. Now we got 9 days off though, but our game this Wednesday is all Bennett State. A little nugget from that, coach did say, like most bigger schools, when you're playing smaller programs, you don't scout them. You ain't trying to show nothing. Coach says he's going to take a different approach because Albany State almost beat us last year. And that but he ain't sitting nobody. He going to call plays. He going to game plan to make sure that they don't think that they can compete with us. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this team continues to grow.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, first I want to thank Liv for answering my question on social media the other day. I guess for me watching the game, I guess my biggest frustrations, and I'm not a basketball person. I'm a fan. I watch, but I don't know all the strategy and inner thinking of it. But my biggest frustration, well, my first observation is the D played tight. Coming against a Power 5 team, I'm thinking, I'm hoping, but then I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, we're hanging with these dudes. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. And so the D played tight, and the two guards, as you mentioned, played very well. I guess my frustration just as a fan was that it seemed like, and I guess specifically, gosh, his name went out of my head, not Eatman, but the other center that starts.
Shannon Grant.
Shannon Grant. It seemed like, I don't know to what degree, but it seems like the production wasn't there that could have established something down low such that it would free up the guards, but also missing the 3-point threat. Because we were hanging tight until they knocked down 10 points in a row. They got a 4-point play
and 9-0
and two consecutive 3-pointers, and we didn't have enough or didn't employ enough. I want to say we don't have enough. We didn't employ someone who presents consistent enough threat based on my fan perception to be able to knock down a shot, pull their defense out, or at least keep up with the scoring. So once that little mini run hit over a couple minutes where they hit 3-pointers in a row, it was pretty much a wrap because we didn't have the score. Even if we went back and forth, they had a 10-point lead. And so that's what I was just wondering. And when I asked Liv online about, the 3-point shooting or the absence of it, and also that did they have run any plays or seemingly for the big in order to establish something down low that either puts the focus there, be able to spread them out, and also take advantage of being spread out to have open shooters who can knock down a three. Now they did knock down a couple. I think KJ and both
Love.
Not Love, it was the other gentleman. I think number 5.
Lamar.
Lamar. Keith Lamar knocked down some threes, but I don't know if that's their game. So if we have some folks on the team who can do that and spread the defense out even a little more, that was my frustration because to me, the way they played defense and the way Oregon played, especially having 2 of their starting centers down, and the defense that we played, this was a winnable game. And that's what was frustrating to me was that they had 2 starters down. The big men were down. We didn't seemingly, once again, from a layman's standpoint, try to firmly establish an inside game to take advantage of that. Nor do we have enough of an outside threat to open up the inside to make it easier to pound it inside, which I'm assuming would correlate to maybe even more free throws. Now, if they make them, hopefully they will. But, I mean, they were driving inside and getting fouls. And some of the fouls I was kind of looking at side-eyed, but they were making a concerted effort to go to the basket.
Let me before you go, Liv, just to point out that mark where you're talking about in the second half, we were down 3 with 13-38 after a jump shot by KJ. From the 13:02 mark, when Oregon hit 3 straight 3-pointers, 2 of them by the same guy. 3, 6, 9. The only shot that we attempted during that stretch was a Keith Lamar 3-pointer that he missed. But we only had that one possession where we had a shot. Obviously there was a timeout, a media timeout at the 11:43 mark, but that we went from being down 3 to down 12. That 9-0 run was their longest.
Separation.
That was the separation point, and that was the only stretch. That was the biggest stretch that Oregon had in terms of consecutive baskets or points. That 9-0 run. So I just wanted to, and then of course we came out of the timeout. KJ hit a bucket, and then Love Bettis hit a bucket. But again at that point, you were down now 12. Liv, your thoughts, your take.
Yeah, I said this the morning after they played that they have a great 1-2 punch with KJ and Keith. I think KJ is elite KJ he's a hooper. He is a scorer. And for your true freshman to be leading your team in minutes, that's crazy. Like, I think when they played Oregon, he played like 30, was it 35, 37?
Yeah.
Like, as a true freshman, he's leading the team. That might be one of his best recruits because he can really light it up and he's a hooper. My only thing is that your two post players that you claimed you were bringing in to establish interior presence on offense, the two of them combined only got 10 shot attempts. And to me, that's unacceptable because you need an inside presence. You need someone who's dominating in there so they respect the team. And obviously, when your two scorers are the only people shooting threes, they're sagging off of everyone else, so that doesn't help. But a few plays I was watching, specifically Eatman would have his player on his back. And if you are a guard and you can see your post players' numbers, you need to give them the ball. Like, period. You need to give them the ball. So I was disappointed that they only got 10 shot attempts together. And then I went back and I looked at their shot attempts through their first 4 games. The only time one got more was when Shannon Grant versus Florida. He had 15 points. He got 10 shot. They really have to do a better job of getting them established. And even if you do it early, like try and get as many touches early as you can. Because as a scorer, you want to do that anyways. If your big man's eating, that means down the stretch, you're going to get yours. So I'm hoping in this next game versus Albany and even versus Presbyterian, and then the next one before Iowa, all 3 of those are winnable games for them. And so I'm really hoping they find their groove before they head back to play a Big Ten team. That's my only thing. I think that they looked good last night, but if they can add, even without a shooter, if they can establish their big men, I think it will really take this team up a notch.
Yeah, no, that's great points. And I think that offense, when you have guards, when you have guards like KJ and Lamar and Love Bettis, I'm personally not surprised to see the low shot attempts by your bigs. But like you said, if we're going to utilize those bigs, then at some point those guards have to decide that we got to run a little offense every now and then through the bigs. We have to let the bigs get established, be a little more of a presence.
And you
have
want
to take advantage. You have to take advantage of the recruiting for years we've been talking about, okay, we are a guard dominated team, but we don't have a big people down low that can handle some of the beef that we've seen in the other SWAC teams. And now that we've got it, we gotta use it.
Mm-hmm. And you want to keep your big man happy by not feeding them ball. They're like, post players want to be fed the ball. They're running rim to rim the entire game. You got to reward them some point. And obviously Grant is getting a lot more minutes than Eatman right now. It's kind of even, but for the most part, he's getting the bulk of the minutes. Just get him a few touches, even if it's in a pick and roll situation, or like if KJ drives, dump up. Sometimes you have to be very intentional of getting people involved. So it establishes that, because we don't want to get the conference time and neither of them are rolling at that point.
Great point. Great point. It almost like Shannon Grant played 22 minutes, Eatman played 18. So it's almost like an even split. It was almost they're subbing one in for the other, and that's just that way you at least got a 6'10" on the floor at all times. And so fortunately, neither one got into any kind of significant foul trouble that made it a challenge for them. So I won't be surprised to see Coach stick to that substitution pattern. And that is also another thing that I liked. He kept the rotation short. It looked like he got what he wanted out of the 8 to 9 guys. And so I guess like you said, we'll just have to wait to see who these other players are. This other guard, he who shall not be named. We'll have to see what happens to him, and then we just kind of go from there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying his name, so I'm not even going to even hint at it. So, all right, Liv, appreciate your time tonight. Let people know again.
Happy Thanksgiving.
How they can find. Yeah. Hold on, we got to settle debate. Liv, are you cranberry sauce, homemade or out the can?
I don't eat cranberry sauce.
Thank you.
My girl, there you go, right there. All right, let's go to the next one. Favorite side dish or favorite non-meat dish?
Mac and cheese, hands down.
Everybody loves mac and cheese. What is it about?
It's
Not me. I'm a vegetable guy.
Vegetable, really?
Collard greens and smoked turkey.
See, but that is it.
All right. Any traditions or anything that you guys do for Thanksgiving, Liv? How are you spending tomorrow?
Just with my family, eating food, waiting to eat my mom's pies, and then
Ooh, what type of pie?
She makes sweet potato and then pecan pie. So I will be eating both of those. They're both completely homemade too. So yeah.
If if mom wants to make an extra one and freeze,
and
how does it need to get shipped? How does it need to get shipped to Florida? I mean,
freeze,
let me know. Freeze it or whatever, freeze dried. I'll send the money for the shipping without a doubt. Just keep that in mind. If mom has an extra one. All right, Liv, let people know where they can find you. Next edition of Live for Hoops will be
hopefully Sunday. Fingers crossed. I'm waiting to see how this week pans out with basketball. There's a lot of good games, but if you haven't, go subscribe to my YouTube. There's 4 videos, so like them all. Or you can follow me on Twitter at LivAntilla. I'm literally watching games every single day, and I'm live tweeting like what's going on, my thoughts, my reactions. So if you don't want to watch a game, but you're interested to know what's going on, I'm watching SWAC women's basketball every single day, and I will tomorrow. There's no breaks this whole entire week, so I'll be tuned in.
That's at Liv Antilla on X and Live for Hoops on YouTube. Big announcement coming regarding Liv here real soon. So you're going to be seeing a lot more Liv here with us and in a few other places. So make sure you're following Liv. Have a happy Thanksgiving, you and your family. And we will see you out in those mean Twitter streets. Be well. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Same to you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, you see, I don't know. Did my sinus thing, is it sounding real obvious? My sinus thing.
No.
Now that you bring it up.
All right. Okay. Now that bring it up.
Sound like you always sound.
Okay.
Snuffleupagus.
Oh wow. Thanks. Okay. A couple of news. I know. A couple of news and notes here. Rattler Roundup real quick. Maybe not so quick. I don't know. You guys tell me here. FAMU football defense was rated #1 in the NCAA. Hold on, let me try to pull up the.
Oh, it's #1 in total defense.
So okay, do you have everything? Because I wanted to.
No, I don't.
Okay,
but it's #1 in total defense. And we've made. Over the last 3 years, we've been top 10. So 2021, 2022, and 2023. So there's a steady ascension. I don't know where we rank in terms of turnovers. I know we're not. I think Alabama A&M was actually #1 in terms of turnovers or turnover ratio, but we're #1 in total defense. And there's a few categories. We're in top 10. So it's been getting steadily improved over the year.
And I'm going to give a shout out to, I think it was it Penalty Talk who first tweeted it out. Yeah, shout out to Penalty Talk who first tweeted it out. And then I know I made the point to reshare it. I tagged Smitty Rock on it. And then I think Coach Simmons sends out tweets. So I'm reading Coach Simmons' tweet. The 2023 FAMU Rattlers Dark Cloud defense is the top-rated defense in the country after the regular season, finishing #1 nationally in total defense and tackles for loss. #2 in scoring defense and third down defense, and top 10 in 3 other categories. So awesome job by Coach and by all those guys.
I told y'all it was gonna happen.
Shout out to Smitty Rock, Coach Milton Patterson, Coach James Colsey, Coach Devon Morgan, and Coach Patrick Watkins. Shout out to the defensive staff for doing a great job. And
great job.
It makes me feel very comfortable going into the SWAC championship game and against potentially Howard University in the Celebration Bowl when we take care of business next Saturday. A couple football notes, some national award notes. The Walter Payton Award finalists for the top offensive player in all of FCS football. Jeremy Musa made the list. I believe it's a list of about 20 guys. Buck Buchanan Award finalists for the top defensive player in FCS. Isaiah Major made that finalist list. Of course, we had the Buck Buchanan Award winner 2 seasons ago, Isaiah Land, another Isaiah. And then Coach Simmons named to the Eddie Robinson Award finalist list as the FCS Coach of the Year. How many schools do you think, outside of South Dakota State and us, I think there were only 3 that had not lost to an FCS opponent. Is that still 3? Do you think?
Can you repeat your question?
South Dakota State and us. We know
I was trying to figure out who was the third school that had not lost to an FCS opponent.
Wasn't it Montana?
Montana State?
No, Montana.
I'm not sure. Montana? Okay.
Yeah, so I think they still hadn't lost because they beat Montana State this year, I think. So
okay.
So I think those are the 3.
Okay. As I already mentioned, Howard won the MEAC, won the Celebration Bowl.
No, they won the MEAC.
I'm sorry.
They're
going to the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah, they're going to the Celebration Bowl. Yeah, that was not a Freudian slip. So thankfully nobody caught that. Also in the MEAC, North Carolina Central won their game to finish 9-2. They will be advancing to the playoffs. They were selected to go to the playoffs. And I don't know about you guys, looking at their seeding, and if you think back to even FAMU's time getting in the playoffs back in the late 90s, that we had that 5 or 6 year run. The seeding for Central, they play Richmond, a CAA school. The winner of that game plays UAlbany, who is a 5 seed, not a 1 seed like what FAMU. If FAMU would have beat Southeast Louisiana 2 years ago, we would have ended up playing a 1 seed, right? I think it was like James Madison
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
James Madison, yeah.
Right. So the seeding, very favorable. And the fact that it's CAA schools is even what makes it more appealing because they are 3-0 against CAA schools. There is no fear in the fact that they got to play Richmond, who has lost to 2 HBCUs this year, Hampton and Morgan State. So yeah, I mean, you guys got any thoughts? Anything you want to add there on Howard and North Carolina Central?
NC Central has a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is the one time, I mean, because when everything happened with the MEAC and the conference contracted, and then they had to basically have 5 out of conference games before they even start the schedule, or maybe 6. Maybe it is 6, because there's only 6 MEAC teams. So they had 5 conference games, and then the rest of their schedule is non-conference. They're built for it. Hopefully everything's healthy and they can represent themselves and I guess to a certain degree HBCUs. You don't want to put that pressure or make it, bigger than what it is. But I think they have a good opportunity to show as long as everybody's healthy. And I think getting back right against Dell State will go towards that. As far as Howard, I haven't really watched them a whole lot, but I did see the game a little bit against Eastern Michigan earlier in the year. And I know they have Eden James. And so I would suspect their strength is probably going against our strength in terms of run defense. So it's going to be a good battle of wills if we make the Celebration Bowl. And I don't want to put any bulletin board material out there. We have expectations too, as fans and based on everything else, but I don't want to put anything out there that's incendiary that would make it, like the flip of Prairie View having that player graphic stepping on our flame. So I'm not trying to put anything out there, but it would be interesting to see their offensive philosophy against our defensive philosophy if we're fortunate enough to achieve the goals that we want to achieve and make the Celebration Bowl.
In terms of Central, also, if they were to make it past Richmond, Albany played Morgan State, and Morgan should have won that game. It was a very, very tight game. So these are winnable games for Central, I imagine. But the counter to that, I imagine Richmond is watching the Howard tape. And whatever Howard was successful in doing, that's what Richmond going to do, and they have the talent to do so. And it's at home. So I just hope that Central plays up to their capabilities, being in the playoffs for the first time in a while, even though they was in the Celebration Bowl and won it last year. I'm just interested to see if the moment is too big for them. If it's not, and they play like they played all year, they'll have a shot. Now, for me, the Achilles heel always has been is going to be they have to win in a shootout. I don't think they're going to consistently defensively stop teams, but they do have the capability to do that, and they've shown that. In terms of Howard, very respected opponent. Their quarterback is a dual threat, but he's more of a runner than he is a passer right now. But he's legitimate, and of course they have 3 running backs, not just Eden and James, and they have a good defensive front. I just don't see any team consistently being able to run against our defensive front. But I also think that they're a team that have enough good, strong enough defense and running game where they can limit our possessions and perhaps create some turnovers. That's their path to trying to beat the Celebration if we make it there. So, and I think they'll bring a decent crowd. They probably bring the best crowd out of the MEAC outside of South Carolina State, maybe. So hopefully we got to take care of business at home. But congratulations to Howard and the MEAC, and I hope I'll be watching that Central game, hoping that they win.
Now, that Central game, is it going to be on ESPN Plus? Are they carrying all the, or is it going to be on like a regional network? I hadn't seen the broadcasting announcements
ESPN
yet.
Plus. Yeah, it'll be on
Okay.
ESPN Plus. I think it was 2:00.
2:00 Saturday?
Yeah, 2:00
Okay.
Saturday.
And to your point, Kelvin, I'm glad you brought that up. I think another thing that makes this a good opportunity for Central is the fact that they played in the Celebration Bowl last year. And that's why I was nodding when you said it, so that they have post-game experience in addition to the way the MEAC is configured now. They basically have to have the first month and a half of non-conference games, so they've had to mix in regional opponents. So
More non-conference than conference.
yeah, so for us, I know harking back to the MEAC fans days, we always say, "Oh, we scared to run up." We play the PWIs, and because we don't face them, and it may be, just conjecture or lingering or any lingering thing, but that won't be the case with Central because of the way the MEAC is configured now, with having to have a 4 or 5 game non-conference schedule every year based on the few number of members, and the fact that they went to a Celebration Bowl last year with 50,000 people in Atlanta. So crowd size going to a PWI in a hostile environment is not a foreign concept. And the fact that they had consecutive postseason appearances, because a lot of times when we were in the MEAC, if it wasn't the stretch for FAMU doing it, for Hampton doing it, if it was a one off for a team, they had zero experience. They're coming in, okay, we never made the playoff before, or this is our first time in a long time. So there wasn't any experience with the moment that they could fall back on and use as an advantage. But now with Central, with their prominence the last couple of years, that won't be the case. So hopefully that's another thing that they have in their back pocket.
Central has defeated Campbell didn't go to the playoffs this year, but Elon did. Elon did make it to the playoffs. What I find fascinating about Central and the case that people will make, and I'm making this, here's a prediction I'm making. The fact that Central has been ranked as high as they were, and I mean not just by the coaches, but the media. See, it's that FCS media poll, which sort of, I believe that was a determining factor that the FCS committee put into place. So not just the coaches poll, but the media poll. And unlike FAMU, who was ranked 5th and even previously 7th, the media poll has not looked favorably upon FAMU. And maybe that's a product of the schedule.
Maybe it's schedule. We have to schedule better out of conference.
Okay.
I never want to hear this excuse again moving forward.
We only have 3 games. We only have 3 games to do that.
It don't matter. We can schedule a regional PWI. We can manage that.
And we have an opportunity in 2025. 2024 is already locked up.
Look at this season. If we had scheduled a PWI, it would have been it wouldn't have been a FCS or a D2. It would have been a Power 5 program.
It don't have to be. No, it didn't have to be. No, it didn't have to be.
The people who know, the people who do have said that was all that was available.
I mean, people say a lot of things. As someone who knows how the sausage is made, there were other opportunities. Now, I'm not going to get publicly into speculating as to, but there was a lot of reasons why the schedule ended up being the way it was this year. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a good schedule in the sense of going out and competing and showing that you're competing against the best competition you can find. All right, we didn't play. I mean, a Division II in a NAI, not even an NAI school. I mean, it is what it is. We give people fodder to criticize or critique whether our 10-1 record. I mean, we 10-1, we won them. So it is what it is with that. But in terms of the caliber of competition, we got. If you compare our resumes, it's not the same. Now the talent, I still don't think it matters with this particular team. I think the talent is a talent, but it would be nice if we could show it more often against a little bit better talent, at least one of those games.
So, all right, I won't dispute and argue that point. I'll go back to my original point about Central and what it means for them being highly regarded and getting as high as 7 and being in the MEAC. If they can win 1-2 games and push themselves into the top 8, they instantly do something for the perception that people will have, not only about the program,
football,
quality of HBCU football, the quality of football in the MEAC, because I think there was a general warm regard for South Carolina State. Other schools will have to do better in their non-conference, but that's what the MEAC has the advantage of doing. The MEAC, because of their scheduling, has the opportunity to schedule amongst their 6 non-conference games at least 3 PWI FCS schools. And they can still schedule HBCUs, maybe even a D2 or a Power 5. But you can get 3 FCS schools. And what that does, it opens the door where if 2 schools can have this kind of success out of the MEAC, let's just say if Howard would have done what I thought Howard was going to do, Howard should have finished 8-3 in my opinion. But anyway, I'm not going to go there. But let's just say 2 schools could benefit in one school going to the celebration with another school going to the playoffs and reap the benefits potentially of getting matched up in a quad with a non-top 4 team. That makes a difference in how far you go in the playoffs. So I just want to.
It's a data point, Brian. Yeah, at the end of the day,
it's a big opportunity for North Carolina Central.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also one final note out of MEAC, of course, Buddy Pugh gets his final win as they beat South Carolina State 44-13. Buddy Pugh, and now the paper chase to see who becomes the next head coach at.
Where's Chinnis Berry going? That's really what it boils down to. Is he staying in South Carolina or is he going to Louisiana? That's when the dominoes start to fall. Once he makes his decision.
It will. And of course, Benedict plays their playoff game 1:00 against Lenore Ryan, a 1 seed Benedict versus the 4 seed Lenore Ryan. That's a 1:00 Saturday game. Yeah, they need to win that game. That's the same spot they were in a year ago, and they lost to a 4 seed.
Right.
So they got to win.
Lost badly.
They did lose badly. And Lenore Ryan has a history, especially over the last decade.
Very good team. You used to winning. Used to playing in playoffs. Yeah.
Over in the SWAC, of course, we know it's going to be Prairie View. Prairie View beat Jackson State. Jackson State, they beat them 28-24.
Don't trust the West again. I thought both teams would lose. And then Jackson State and Alabama State end up losing. I did get a chance to watch that game, and Alabama State turned the ball over a couple of times in scoring territory and gave them the first 2 touchdowns. I mean, the first touchdown and put them in scoring position for the second one. So, Prairie View made a play if that's how you want to look at it, but yeah, they had some help. The offense didn't do a whole lot.
I want to share some information real quick before we wrap it up regarding the SWAC championship game. I had a chance to get some of this information from the SWAC office. I cannot underscore how big a financial windfall and gain this is going to be for FAMU. This is why the SWAC schools want to keep this game, the championship game, at a host school, because everybody is playing for this, and everybody is potentially playing for upwards of $1 million payout. And what I mean by that is even the allotment that Prairie View or whoever the visiting school is, that money goes to the host school. The ticket prices and the ticket pricing. What I noticed that the prices for general resale tickets are what, $45 to $50. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's more. Even students have to pay for tickets, correct? So
I'm assuming so. I'm not sure on that.
Well, if not, that means the university bought them then. But
correct.
Every ticket, with the exception of a small percentage, is going to the conference. But FAMU is controlling all of the gate receipts, the concessions, which hopefully they're ready for that,
right,
and the parking. Got this right out of the conference. FAMU controls the parking. Now, I know that's a thing for Kelvin, that I know some investing in champions folks and other folks haven't been able to purchase parking yet. That may be a result of something that FAMU is waiting to do. But I'm told it's not the conference. For whatever reason, it's the school that controls parking. The conference may ask for a certain number of parking spaces, but in general, right. But in general, the university, the host school, controls the parking. So, for whatever reason, that, I don't know why, but it hasn't happened yet. The parking hasn't been made available. The road team, all of their travel expenses are covered. The team, the band, the cheer, the support staff. That is the only benefit that goes to the road team. The road team does not get $1 of the receipts.
One correction. Make sure on the one thing I'm not sure is I thought that the tickets they sell through their ticket office goes to them.
Well, here's how that works. The school will request a certain allotment from the home school. I don't quote me on the numbers, but let's just say Prairie View asked for 3,000 tickets because they think that their demand will say, we've got at least a demand for 3,000 tickets. They have to pay Florida A&M whatever that ticket price times 3,000 tickets. And then, of course, then they are going to go and sell it, sell to whomever their constituents are. But assuming they're going to sell at the cost so they can at least recoup back the cost. Now, they may choose to give away whatever. I don't know how they do it. But the Prairie View is on the hook. So whether it be 3,000, 4, 5, whatever the number is that they request from FAMU has to set aside a block. I know there's a section L that is a Prairie View section. And also talking to the SWAC office, the band configuration is probably going to be similar to what it's going to be for a normal FAMU home game. So I would guesstimate that the two sections closest to the north end zone are where your visitor sections are.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where section L is?
Yeah.
L on the east side, and then the band section over on the west side.
J, yeah.
So that's most likely where your visitor sections are. And then if once they say, okay, we got these 3,000 to 4,000 tickets, then the rest goes to FAMU to distribute and do whatever and sell however they want to sell. But that's how that works for the road team.
Okay.
So that's why this is a potentially $1 million game for FAMU. The game being marketed on ESPN2 helps the overall advertising dollars, which will go into the general distribution at the end of the season. So you may potentially make a little bit more money there. But think about these next two games could equal about a $2 million in revenue generated for the athletic team.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Simmons said as much.
Unbudgeted, by the way.
Yes.
Unbudgeted, yeah.
He said as much at the, I want to say the November, I forgot which date it was, because I looked back and I referred it to somebody else in a tweet. It was one of the early November, like the first week. It was the week before, I think, the Lincoln game. And Coach Simmons basically, he didn't talk about us, but he said Jackson State cleared almost $3 million based on being hosting.
And that's because they have a bigger
well, let me finish. I mean, yeah, the money wise, I mean, from the number standpoint, but the fact that they cleared low seven digits based on hosting and going to the Celebration Bowl, even after, I'm assuming after all, the revenue split or however it splits out for the Celebration Bowl. So, I mean, I don't know if it's linear, you can figure out, how much we can potentially clear based on stadium size. I don't know, but it is a revenue source that we don't have, or that we can't, that we're going to take a benefit of this year.
And let me just add to that, Brian. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again because now we're there. It's really important that this additional revenue that's been generated by athletics stay with athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm gonna be dogmatic about that, and we're gonna be very transparent, and we're gonna tell the truth on we're gonna let folks know if it don't go that way. So let's do the right thing by athletics.
And the other question that I'll throw out there, just to throw it out there, and we'll talk about it again next week. With that amount of money, will there be an opportunity for some of that money to go, or what percentage would stay with the football program? Because other than just your bonus,
we got two beat down games next. We got two beat down games next year. Well, we should be able to be competitive at least in one of them. But we got two FBS games next year, 12-game schedule. Put it back into the nutrition, the strength program, etc. Absolutely, it needs to go to football. The lion's share.
Right. So, I mean, that's an interesting debate to talk about what percentage will go to athletics. Just in case you wondered, Monday at 10 o'clock, that's when the SWAC championship game press conference will be. It'll be a virtual press conference. So, Coach Simmons, Coach Bubba McDowell at Prairie View, that's when they'll kind of have a virtual press conference. I'm sure the commissioner will be there. Other little news and notes will be presented at that time as well. They will do the post-game press conferences in the Lawson Center. I don't know if that's going to be somewhere other than like the press room where we were for basketball, or if they're going to set up something down on the stadium floor, similar to remember when Coach Simmons was named the coach. Remember how they set up the stage and everything for that.
Mm-hmm.
So no telling on that. The press conference is 10 a.m. Central, because typically that's 11 a.m. Eastern, camera. Because typically the football coaches' press conferences are 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central. So I was told 10 o'clock, and I would imagine he was telling me Central time. since the offices are in Central Time, and that's what time they always have them. So I don't see them getting out of the way. And what other any other questions that you guys have regarding? That's about all the info that I was able to get from this.
Tailgating. Tailgating came out today, right before. I think Family Athletics released it right before we went live today, but tonight. But there will be some tailgating spots, padded foot again. Otherwise, I think you can tailgate at your parking spot, but only in the footprint of your parking spot. So that's really tough. But they do have tailgating spots at padded foot again. So for those who may be interested.
So I wouldn't be surprised. There might be people who want to buy 2 parking spaces. I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of those situations. So that's why people are eager to find out when parking, how that's going to work out, when it'll be available, and stuff like that. All right. So
my understanding, the SWAC office, and I don't know if it includes the visiting teams allotment too, but my understanding is about 250 to 270 parking spots that are out of the inventory just for that group.
How many spaces are in the lot?
Somewhere around 1,100.
Okay, that's not bad. All right. Yeah. All right. All right, guys. Let's. This has been a good one. Been a long one.
Been a great one. Long, but important. We had to do it, man. I really enjoyed the episode with bringing back the Me at Fan SWAC page, Kenn Rashad and Floyd and Dr. Walker, man, because like you say, we met each other through those platforms, those message boards back in the late 90s. So you know, it was a real treat for me and a little bit of nostalgia in terms of that. But also, let me say, man, I know it's not our New Year's show or anything yet, but you know, with the passing of Kofi and everything, and Thanksgiving coming up, and his birthday just passed, and my birthday. I love you, brothers. I've enjoyed this year more than any other year, and I treasure it. I don't take it for granted. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Marcus, any final thoughts here as we close?
I'm just echoing the same sentiments, and like I said when we kicked it off, when the guests first came in, my introduction to Kelvin and Floyd and a lot of folks, Sam Dixie and other folks that I met through Extension and have been through the message boards, and it's just an extension of our community with having similar interests, or a common goal or common school, having common support for our school and how it blossoms into something else. And that was one of the reasons I was so looking forward to this show, because not only has it blossomed in relationships, but it's blossomed into what we've seen now with the proliferation of HBCU athletics coverage, and wanted to make sure to give homage to those folks who are who established that foundation. Unfortunately, we didn't have anyone from Oneiden. I know Mr. Moore passed away, and I didn't know if there's anyone else who picked up the mantle, but we can't forget his contributions and his mentorship. But just giving homage to those who established it, so who walked, so some of the folks that we follow now could run. And hopefully, if we do have a part 2 to this series, we have some more contemporary folks, we can see how they're running with it and what the foundation was set by the folks we had on tonight, how that helped them get to where they are now and establish the platforms now where they can go global or become viral instantaneously with either a clever quip, sharp personality, combination of both, or technological insight. But it was really great to hear and see those things and just reflect and give honor to them, and to be able to just, I guess, as folks who have a platform now on technology that wasn't available back then, to once again say that we're kind of standing on their shoulders as well. And to yourself, Brian, and to Roy, for having the vision with BCSN as part of that continuation of the arc for HBCU coverage. And also happy Thanksgiving and blessings to both of you.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well. I'd be remiss if we didn't add a note. Congrats to, even though our volleyball team didn't finish up the season with a championship, but they made it to the championship game for the third consecutive year. They ran up against a team that was on a magical run.
Yes.
Jackson
State. Well, just a good job, man. We knew this was going to be a challenging year for volleyball because, we had so much to replace. But they, to their credit, they played for another championship. They had opportunity. They were in position. So that says that we have a program. It's not we just reload. So congratulations to Coach Gokong. I know that, ultimately he didn't reach the final goal on his list, but, to the ladies and to the coaching staff, good job, man. And I'm excited. I know y'all got a lot coming back. I know you recruiting. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of positives. I'm looking forward to seeing them. I think I even retweeted that. I'm looking forward to them reloading and going after a fourth consecutive trip to the championship game, and looking forward to seeing what the recruiting. Well, we've already met some of the recruits, and see what the others look like, and see where we fill in the spots that we need to fill in. But congrats and thank you to the senior class, especially Brooke Hudson, even Isis Williams. Isis has been a part of the back-to-back title run. She was a major contributor on this squad.
And I think Isis Williams, I have to look back, I think she was one of Coach Gokong's first recruits, because I think he came in 2019, if I'm correct. I have to look back in the Pitt archives, but she may have been one of his first recruits after we transitioned from Coach Tribnoff to Coach Gokong.
Okay.
So she's been here for
a lot of positives.
Yeah.
A lot of positives. Be well, everybody. Thank you again. Make sure.
Thank you, Rattler Nation and HBCU Nation, for watching us.
Yes.
We love you. Happy Thanksgiving.
The thumbs up and the like button wherever you are watching the show. Make sure you're following us. We need to get our numbers up, so please follow the O&G StrikeZone Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram right there in the top left of the screen at O&G StrikeZone. Also, that's also our YouTube page. So if you're not subscribed to this Jericho Broadcast Network's page, subscribe to our O&G StrikeZone page, where you can always catch and watch the shows on replay. Watch out for the BCSN Pod Zone. If you're a podcast listener, this podcast episode will appear on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So any parts that you miss, you can always go back and pick up later. And so for Marcus Green, Kelvin Rozier, I am Brian Fulford from the entire JBN family. We will be the last ones to wish you happy Thanksgiving Eve, and have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Eat well, be well, don't eat too much. That's right. It's time to go cook some birds. Cook some birds. So, hey, thank you, everybody. Be well. Good night. God bless. Fangs up. And don't forget to strike, and strike again out there on those streets, wherever you all are. All right, family. We out of here. Peace out, everybody.